पूरे रिकॉर्डिंग में ना किसी का खराब करने का मन हो। ओके।
हाँ
Okay. Okay. So you would not know, but we are starting again. And the the book for the month, and I got heckled the last time around. So the book for the month of December was Black Flamingo. So uh, there is this thing that we do that somebody chooses a book for the month, and we all try to read it. We love it or we hate it, but we still try to power through that book because it is someone else's choice, someone that matters to us. And so the Black Flamingo was personally for me an entry point in a different world, and it is obviously not the best book out there regarding this topic, but it is something that I wanted to start it with, and it is something that I found in the diversity list that I was searching for. So this book is obviously not written by me. It is not about me. So feel free to trash the book if you didn't like it at all. But all I wanted to do while reading this book was gain a perspective into a queer person's life. Very sadly and unfortunately, I personally I do not have many queer friends, or I do not have absolutely any perspective in that world. So I tried using this book to at least as a start. So अभी बस एकदम से इंग्लिश में बोलने का जरूरत नहीं है अब का टाइम, बट so we have I think 10 to 15 people that have joined in यहाँ पे. Before I give it to others and we can start the discussion quickly, I'll just share as a summary that what I felt while reading the book. So I think what I liked about this book was that it is a very innocent book, and it doesn't try to be too smart about itself. And how it is, obviously he has written like the character is Michael, but I'm pretty sure he's talking about himself because the writer is also a queer person. And it was interesting to note the identity crisis that he went through step by step all his life, and that was one perspective that I had no access to before this. And so what I liked about that was that apart from being queer, he was also hybrid in the sense of race, and there were so many other things that he was trying to understand and grapple around all his childhood, and we take all this identity thing for granted, but it was so difficult for him. So I think he did it well. The quality of the poem progression was also nicely done. So I liked that too. I also feel that the writer is a better poet than he is a writer of a verse novel or novel. But over and all, I was sympathizing with the character. At the end, I did not even feel like that this is a queer book. There are many incidences in this book when I could also relate to it. The first rejection, when somebody doesn't like you, you don't seem to fit in, and when you feel out of place. Obviously, his struggles are a lot larger and than mine, but I could also relate. It was not completely. I didn't feel completely out of place. With that, I will like to open this discussion for everyone. Anybody who wants to chime in and uh, you know and we're going to do it like this. Everybody is welcome to talk, but let's start with like the first thoughts and like a summary, and then we can kind of delve deeper into the things. So koi bhi bhai log, I see. And or otherwise, if nobody wants to volunteer, we can start by the sequence that I see on the screen. And is somebody willing to start and share their thoughts? Oh yeah, bhai log. Or we could start with Diljit, because Diljit is the one that I see on the screen. Leftmost. Go for it.
श्योर। अगेन ऐसा नहीं लगा कि दिस इज द मोस्ट प्रोफाउंड बुक आउट देयर, but as you said, certain things that you usually don't discuss if you don't have queer friends, or you're not connected with people from that background, or even the racial topics that are discussed. They're living in a country like India where people, like, everyone is of the pretty much the same race. These topics don't come up, right? So that uh, but yes, I felt it is uh, how should I say it? It is a it was, again, I don't think fun is the word, but it was a fun read, as in I didn't get bored reading through it. It was a quick read for me. I finished it in one sitting. and it was interesting enough to keep me, hooked for the entirety of the book. Then there were things, as you said, where despite not being a black person or not being a queer person, there were still elements that I could relate to. The character was relatable, and not just the protagonist, but sometimes the other characters too. So, and there were a couple of things that again when we discuss the book in more details, that I could really relate with, and I'll come to that when we discuss the book in more details. But yeah, I enjoyed reading it, and again, a different book from what I usually read, and a fun little read, which I think there's no harm in everyone trying it, at giving it वही होता ना कि it's at least a one time read. So it was a good, yeah, it was a good book in that sense. Yeah.
राइट, मुझे भी ऐसा लगा कि आई थिंक he kept it fun as in light. He was talking about
Hmm.
social
So
struggle.
one thing that I was, because of the topic, शुरू से ही from very first page I was struggling, कि not struggling, I was expecting कि अब इसको प्रॉब्लम आएगी, अब इसको प्रॉब्लम आएगी, now he'll face it. So
हाँ,
that challenge he faced in the entirety, he did face some challenges, but it was not very heavy. Like जब भी उसके grandfathers, whether it is from his father side or mother side, grandfathers का grandparents का mention आता, मैंने कहा ये कुछ ना कुछ रेसिस्ट बोलेंगे, ये कुछ ना कुछ वो बोलेंगे, ऐसा एंटी गे कुछ बोलेंगे. But everyone was accepting pretty much, other than a few school friends, which is normal for any kid, even if you're a straight person, which is, तो
yes.
बच्चे तो ऐसे होते ही हैं, बुली करते ही हैं, राइट. तो वो मतलब, because of the topic chosen, I kept expecting that kind of struggle, but I think he kept it very light in that sense.
I
The
think
journey was there. हाँ.
yeah, मैं सिर्फ एक बोल रहा हूँ
हाँ
कि
जी,
I
बोलिए.
think that was intentional. I think he didn't want to
हाँ,
victimize himself too much. I mean,
एग्जैक्टली. हाँ,
so
मतलब वही है कि वो आप वो चीज एक्सपेक्ट कर, लाइक यू एक्सपेक्ट दैट ग्रीफ, दैट सॉरो
हाँ,
इनहेरेंटली, लेकिन वो इसमें इतना नहीं है.
the grief
हाँ.
at every yeah, so that thing that would,
हाँ.
why do we have to search grief everywhere? And I'm now missing
एवरीवेयर. हाँ.
Vishwesh here. Vishwesh will be soon joining, but yeah,
हाँ जी.
yeah, that's the thing. Okay, yeah. Next up, and obviously we will come back to you, Diljit, and everyone. Next up, I see Piyu, mother of Zoe. You have Piyu.
Zoe
Zoe.
Okay.
Deschanel.
हाँ जी. तो कुछ ऐसे first thoughts or whatever.
See, first disclaimers first, that I have not finished the book. I'm 80% through. So from what I've gathered, again, like Nikhil said, just adding on to what he said, I think the book in general does not so much feel like a I mean a queer book, but mostly about self acceptance, and how we are always looking for self acceptance, and how we seek for redemption, so on and so forth. But I think, I mean, in general, um, the book is great. I mean, it is simple to read. It does not hold you heavy. You will not kind of put down the book and slide into thoughts of like 2 hours, rounding up your thoughts and sitting with it. But it gives you the general message very easily. This is also uh, one of very few encounters I've had with such a book. Like, I find it very difficult to read prose like literature, but this is something, this is where I differ to, wherein I did not find it difficult to read. I still don't find it difficult to read. I can hold it in one hand, read it through. I'm doing something very busy, so that is that makes it approachable for me in my own definition.
Yeah.
But again, I saw this book as more inviting you to into a journey of a guy who is just looking for acceptance more than anything else. And about racism and what it talks about, I think in some areas I kind of understand and see where he comes from, but there are bigger challenges in racism than the book actually talks about. So I did not give it weightage on a book that talks about racism. Really, I think that is the minimal that a literature could do about racism, that is what is done in the book. I don't think it deals so heavily with it as heavy the topic is. uh, and I think, yeah, I don't know the end of the book, so I'm not sure how it ends and how it all boils into. But I'm looking forward to the end of it, because it was a fun read, as in it was a breezy read. You could just flip through pages and not just be depressed about it, that oh my god, this guy is not getting acceptance, or that guy is not being accepted anywhere. Or, yeah, I mean, very raw thoughts, because I was just reading the book. So this is all I have to say as of now.
Yeah. Yeah. So tying Piyush and Diljit's thoughts together, that's what you're saying, that uh, from whatever experiences we have about our society, it couldn't have been that easy. Maybe it couldn't have been that easy. It was not
Mm-hmm.
something a fun, breezy read. But yeah, maybe that was a conscious choice. We would never know. But yeah, okay.
I
Anything else?
wanted to ask PU ki uh, you're in the same general area of where the book is set in. So do you see any parallels in the kids around you? Pe?
Yeah, actually, the location is, I mean, I've heard him talk about the Victoria station that I have frequented to and all of that, and the location and everything seems very close to where I am. I see guys and girls behaving the same way as Michael was behaving. But again, about racism, as I said, racism here is not on your face anymore. I mean, here people have
Mm-hmm.
become more conscious about racism than you yourself will be. So, I mean, in a societal space that I live in, the whites around me are more cautious about racism than I am. So, which makes it a little, how do I put it, uncomfortable for me, because they're always cautious, if they are, crossing the boundary, if they are, saying something that would affect me in a way that is funny at times, and that is also saddening to see that we've kind of come to a situation that we intentionally or unintentionally draw a line.
Overcorrecting.
Yeah, exactly, overcorrecting. Oh, I hope I did not say anything wrong. It is it is exhausting at one point.
Also,
But yeah,
extra wide grins, those,
yes,
being
exactly.
extra
I
nice.
mean, Brits anyway in general are very polite, on your face at least. Uh, yeah, and the fact that we are Indians add to it a lot more. So I see racism very differently here. So I would not say that, okay, what Michael was feeling, I can somehow feel it, because we've moved on. I think from the book, from the time the book has released, we've also moved on, and now people are more conscious about not being racist than considering considering anything else. So yeah, that is the difference I see. But yes, kids are like that. I mean, if you look at a kid today in here, I also feel that, oh my god, they are so beyond their age. I mean, I would not have thought like this when I was their age also. And here things are more different, because kids are very independent here. So it is another story for an Indian girl coming into the UK to see that, okay, they are so independent, they don't need you at all. So that is it.
Got it. We move on to Ash. Ash, you there?
Yep, I don't think I've got anything much to add to the conversation at this point.
अभी कुछ भी नहीं. We'll come
नहीं,
back.
अभी कुछ नहीं. मतलब there's nothing more that I have.
Done. So next I see is Sumit. बताओ.
मैं तो बहुत लिखा है इसके बारे में.
Oh, notes for yeah.
I was a bit conflicted because some parts I really liked about the story. The growing up parts, especially also the drag bit at the end. There was some details that of a world that I am not aware of. So whenever whenever a writer writes that, right, something that is very personal to them and then shines it in writing, then I like it a lot. But I think I would consider it only a half experience of me reading this book because I listened to it and not read it, because the book is an artwork in itself. I checked it at Diljit's place. Pura, there are scribbles. It's the whole thing is in verse.
It's
I found
beautiful.
it out. Sunte time pata nahi chalta. It's verse. It's like
Yeah,
it's a person doing spoken word when you're listening to it.
Yes.
But the whole book is in a poem format. I have a lot of negative points, negative or things that it could have been handled better. Like it could have been longer. I think it's some places where he could have delved into the relationships, the conflict that the character was feeling. वो वर्स फॉर्मेट में हो नहीं पाया, I think, because he was constricted because of even that he could have done it, but I think fault lies with the writers. उसका it could have done a lot more with the characters. If you've seen Sex Education, उसमें एरिक का जो character है, he is black, he is gay, and he does drag also. And the problems in his life, and that is set in also in modern context. ऐसा Gen Z millennial के border पे ऐसे लोग हैं वो लोग, ऐसे बच्चे हैं, teenagers.
Gen Z है.
हाँ, and it's so well done. The writing is so good. The characters, you feel for the characters even if they are like 100 steps away from you. Like, I am not black, I am not gay, I don't dress in drag, I don't live in London, I don't have big houses. Vesa, like it's totally different. The culture is it's almost alien, but you still feel it because they are human. Isme I did not feel much for the character, and the characters grew hateful for me in the middle when the teenage years pe. Also, the Daisy character was one note. Like, if you have a manic pixie dream girl, उसका totally opposite Daisy था, goth girl. क्या ही उसका जो homophobia, partial homophobia था.
मतलब I almost cast her कि ये कौन play करेगा जब मतलब जो movie कभी नहीं
ये Aubrey Plaza, मैं तो कर दिया. दूसरा कोई था ही नहीं मेरे दिमाग में.
Yes.
But yeah, but I did not like
that girl who plays Wednesday Addams. I forgot.
हाँ, ऐसा full bangs and long hair. But it came across as very one note, uska character, just to get him out of his funk. It felt like it was just enabling the main character.
Correct. Also,
in Ashley's style, yeah.
Yeah, go for it, Diljit.
No, yeah, that's all she said. Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that. Yeah.
नहीं उससे कोई सवाल पूछते हाँ yeah. Yeah.
I like the mother character bit. Even her acceptance was shown really well. Like बाकी सबका acceptance was, मुझे पल्ले नहीं पड़ रहा था कि है ना तुम लोग question भी नहीं कर रहे हो या फिर ask him what you're going through or something.
Exactly कि
फटक से accept कर लिया.
easy कितना हो गया.
कलेश करो ना थोड़ा.
कितना easy.
कलेश भी नहीं. Ask him ना क्या चल रहा है तुम्हारे दिमाग में, क्या चल रहा है. Because if the elder people are coming from a different generation, तो थोड़ा तो ये होगा. It's like everyone is.
Also, मेरा एक question.
I want to ask you. हाँ sorry पूछिए.
Okay, उसके बाद पक्का. तो मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि is it all these things, this craving for drama that we kind of want?
Yeah, good question.
Is it because we come from an Indian context and it is not that uncommon there?
Not really, not for me.
No.
It is because the story was flatlining a lot.
Yeah, because the conversation could have been more
हाँ, कुछ I'm not saying कि कलेश करो, ड्रामा करो. I'm saying कि है ना थोड़ा डीप जाओ. तुम जो बच्चे से बात कर रहे हो थोड़ा डीप जाओ.
Even if it is uncommon and kind of they have evolved or they're used to people coming out as queer or whatever, but फिर भी मतलब इतना जैसे कि the word he used, the कुछ भी हो नहीं रहा था मतलब at least
हाँ, the homophobia came from his classmates, which is
correct. Also, Daisy is that character ना जो I mean no spoiler
उसकी
here.
फ्रेंड, ओनली फ्रेंड उसकी जो
So,
स्कूल में
and
जो
then
होती
she
है,
also discovers her
बाप रे, वो तो मोनोलॉग में पूरा
हम्म
बता देती है माए, उसका तो पूरा
again very stupid thing, but I understood कि oh, even if you are yourself kind of that orientation, you can also be homophobic.
Yeah,
And
good.
हाँ
या
हाँ,
या
ये
या
तो होता है, ये तो
वो
होता
तो
है,
होता है,
ये तो
क्लोजेटेड
होता है।
होमोफोब्स, वो तो
So,
इसमें अमेरिकन
yeah,
कौन सा था,
so
केविन स्पेसी वाला वो,
I was so surprised कि society
American
अपना
Beauty.
काम इतना
हाँ
अच्छे से करती है. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I was saying कि society का काम इतने अच्छे से करती है कि it drills it in those people's minds also कि नहीं, even if
या
you are doing something, it is wrong. Also, इसका भी Barbie fixation में देख रहा था at the start. At the start, there is a Barbie fixation. They want a Barbie doll. So all the things he was doing also, the girls also don't want to do. मतलब the girls was also asking, why should I only play with Barbie? But he wants to do that. तो
वो भी मेरे को थोड़ा स्टीरियोटाइपिक क्लीशे
yeah,
टाइप
मतलब
का, सॉरी।
अगेन आई वांटेड टू आस्क एंड सुमित, बेसिकली क्योंकि आपने वो बोला, तो व्हेन वी थिंक ऑफ ऑल द कैरेक्टर्स बीइंग सो एक्सेप्टिंग, आपको लगता है जो उसके जैसे हिज ग्रैंडमदर ऑन हिज फादर साइड एंड जब वो साइप्रस जाते हैं, द ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स देयर, डू यू थिंक दे अंडरस्टूड हिज सेक्सुअल ओरिएंटेशन या दे वर जस्ट इग्नोरेंट अबाउट इट, कि वो
वहां पे तो
मानना ही नहीं चाहते? they kept asking ना his grandfather कि वो is she your girlfriend, तो वो कभी
हाँ
उस
हाँ हाँ,
रियलिटी पे आए ही नहीं कि
वो
he could
वो
be
ब्रीच ही नहीं किया
gay.
ना, वो टॉपिक ही ब्रीच नहीं किया उन्होंने।
Okay.
और वहां पे भी हिज रेस वाज, तो ही वाज ऑलवेज, कौन सा रेस ऊपर लाओ या सेक्सुअलिटी ऊपर लाओ, इट्स वन और द अदर, इट्स नॉट क्लियर, बैलेंस नहीं था
बट
उसमें
दिस
तो।
इज अ थिंग, हाँ, यहाँ पे जो आई मीन अबाउट मिक्स्ड रेशियलिटी जो यहाँ पे है, इट इज अ मेजर थिंग. सो आई मीन आई थिंक जितना क्लोजेटेड होना नहीं होना, जहाँ पे पीपल आर वेरी conflicted कि हाँ, do they want to declare themselves as white or do they want to declare themselves as not white?
डिपेंड्स ऑन
I
हाउ
mean,
फेयर योर स्किन इज,
हाँ,
राइट?
हाँ, right, exactly. I mean,
कितना light
that
skin
is
होगा? Yeah.
another
White passing, right? That's
problem.
the word. White
Yeah,
passing.
sorry, yeah, white person.
So there's this book,
One more thing is,
beautifully segueing. There's this book
just
called
one more thing, I'll
Vanishing.
just
Exactly, the vanishing act, yeah,
ये
right,
कौन सा है?
Aishwarya? हाँ,
The Vanishing Half.
vanishing half. उसमें वो sisters रहती है, one passes as white and one does not, one chooses not to, right? वही है ना?
vanishing. Yep.
Vanishing
Yeah, so
act क्यों बोल रही हूँ मैं पता नहीं, but vanishing half.
बोलो।
हाँ नहीं, जस्ट वन मोर थिंग,
Better
थोड़ा और
title,
वैसे
better title.
मैं मेरा खत्म कर देता हूँ। It
हाँ जी,
felt
हाँ
like
जी.
a millennial writing Gen Z dialogues as and very as a older millennial, like it's not even how, हाँ,
वो खुद Gen Z है by the way.
कौन राइटर? नहीं, he's 38 or something.
ये है क्या?
हाँ,
हाँ,
is he?
एक मिनट.
मेरे एज का है मतलब, इसीलिए ऐसा है.
I think मैं
आपके
तो
पड़ोस
एक ही
में तो
बार
नहीं रहता
सर्च
अभी,
किया था।
देखो एक बार.
हाँ
नहीं,
यार,
उसके पहले ही it
you're
felt like
right, ढूंढती हूँ मैं.
when you read it, it felt like हाँ हाँ रॉफल ऐसा, मतलब थोड़ा
27.
27 तो मतलब
27।
No,
हाँ,
that's the
bordering
Guardian वाला
तो
वो ना.
उसके
हाँ,
क्या है?
गार्डियन का आर्टिकल
Guardian का
2012 का है वो।
article. हाँ 2012 का है वही.
2012 में 27 था वो।
Okay. So it's like कितना 38, yeah, okay.
38।
Yeah.
मैंने कन्वीनियंटली मेरा एक साल बढ़ा दिया. आई एम लाइक सो कूल.
ठीक है, आई एम डन।
Yep. Got it. Next up is
पॉजिटिव, वेरी शॉर्ट रीड, सब पर
very short read. तो जो पढ़ा ही नहीं ऑडियो बुक.
हाँ, रीडिंग स्लम से पक्का बाहर निकालने वाली बुक है
हाँ,
ये,
हाँ,
तो यू हैव टू गिव इट.
वो तो फिक्स।
नेक्स्ट अप इज मतलब किसी और कुछ बोलना है बिफोर? ओके, नेक्स्ट अप इज वृंदा. बताओ.
Sorry, I clapped. Next gift वाला लगा.
हमारे लिए तो निकली.
अभी कर देगी छवि।
हाँ, इसके बाद आप ही हो छवि, क्योंकि आदित्य ने अभी पढ़ी नहीं है।
Okay.
Yeah.
चिन्मय ने भी नहीं पढ़ी, I see him also.
हाँ मैंने पढ़ी है
मैं
पढ़ी
पढ़ी।
है।
चिन्मय की रेटिंग
निखिल को
दिख गई
आती
मुझे,
है।
पढ़ी नहीं कैसे।
गो फॉर इट वृंदा, बताओ।
Okay, so
हाँ, विश also.
like same views, like reading slum से बाहर आना है, तो this is a good book, but I have not liked the book as much as I thought I would. When I was reading it, since I have read like मुझे पता नहीं क्यों, but जो एक बुक हमने पढ़ा था प्रीवियस में, उसका मुझे रेफरेंस आ रहा है, वो बुक का नाम भी याद नहीं आ रहा है मुझे, एक सेकंड। नहीं 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 एक जो बहुत ही डिप्रेसिंग बुक था, which I
अरे बहुत
couldn't.
थे वैसे।
हाँ
बहुत ही थे।
पूरा साल ही ऐसा था।
You guys read A Little Life? Was
Little
it?
Life.
Yeah,
अरे
yeah, yeah,
Little
yeah.
Life.
Shaggy Bone.
Oh, but that's a much more, हाँ, okay.
Shaggy Bone, what, how's
हाँ,
it
तो
pronounced?
Shaggy
Shaggy
Bane,
Bone,
हाँ।
yeah.
हाँ, तो मुझे वो बार बार उसकी याद आ रही थी, पता नहीं वो पढ़ने के वक्त, that might be my thought process or something. Okay, I will not talk about book much because anyway, like same opinion as what Diljit said, Piyu said, and Sumit said. One thing I want to add here is I have a friend from that community. So like, I mean, what I felt being friend with them is like, I mean, they are just another, human being.
Correct.
I mean, I didn't felt any differences. I got a connection with him through one of my common friend. So initially when I started, interacting with him, it for me also it was kind of a excitement. And for their side, they were like little on थोड़ा सा बैक फुट पे थे कि ओके एक्सेप्टेंस होगा नहीं होगा, अभी तो बात कर रहे हैं, बाद में बात करेंगे नहीं करेंगे, दैट काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग. But then I felt like I didn't felt any of the difference, and then like it's a normal, I mean, good friendship with them. That's it.
Correct.
So ऐसा कुछ यही मेरे पास ऐड करने के लिए है related to this. Other than that, there is nothing much to add from my side.
Perfect. Okay. Next up is आदित्य. आपने पढ़ा तो नहीं है, but अभी कोई डिस्कशन के बारे में कुछ भी, your any thoughts, or should I move on? Silent listener. Okay.
नहीं यार, I don't have many thoughts at this point. I mean,
ठीक है. Done. Okay. Over to you, Chavi. बताइए.
I have thoughts, okay, and my thoughts are that like the book isn't great, like it's like I think we've established that, but I'll tell you why I think it's not, is because it's not written for you, like it's not written for people. I really don't think it's written for people above 15 also. Like I think this is the book you'll give to like a 12 or a 13-year-old in school, and that's why every bad thing must end in like a good thing, like every conflict must be resolved and everything must feel like a hug at the end of it, because you can't tell children that the world is bad, okay? Like guys, we've collectively agreed that children must be protected, and that's with a lot of queer writing, which is that, especially since I know Dean Atta is like a spoken word artist also, which I saw in the writing. I mean, it can be like a good thing
100%.
and a bad thing, but like they really love spoken word and they wanted the book to feel like it, so that it's very accessible for children and very accessible for preteens wala age. And that's why that's why it's also preachy at times, like even at the end it's like that. I read it, so like that entire how to come out wala thingy, like that part. And then every time you, and it, like I get it. I also think that there are parts of the book that are very honest, okay? There are like few things that the book does very well, but then a lot of it is purely just somebody writing, oh, by the way, I did this, that, and you don't care for it. Like you're like, okay, sure. So, and also it's very sad that this book came out in, I'll tell you my sadness. Okay, everything else you said, I think that I let that go because I think it's for kids. But I'll tell you my sadness. The book came out in 2019. Okay, so I've read books that came out so earlier, and they were far more profound, and not profound in its like they must tell you something about identity, but like profound in the sense that they would tell you a bit about how bad it can get, because once people realize how bad it can get, they want to make it good. But if you keep painting rosy pictures, then nobody really cares. I mean, you guys don't care.
What maybe what is surprising more is that this book features in many lists that you search for.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know, matlab, and so somebody who has not read these kind of novels at all can easily be blinded by, अरे ये तो दिख रही है, maybe अच्छी होगी, देखते हैं, वैसा वाला. And but I also feel that it didn't stand that कि अरे this is a mandatory read. मतलब ठीक है, it's fine. I had to
It's fine. I'll tell you who it helps. Okay, like it helps people. Like a lot of people, a lot of my friends, when they want to read books around queerness, and since also that they want to read something that just doesn't again tell you the world is bad. Like they want to read ki, oh wow, they talk. I'll tell you, like there are parts, because I read the book and then I went to my friend and I was talking to them about it, and I was like, oh yeah, they want to quote Lady Marmalade to this guy, like they want to sing that, and I'm like, oh yeah, you would do that. Or you want, or like when they are talking about Scarlett Johansson in Lost in Translation, yeah, of course you want to talk about that. So it's that part. It's like that brunch wine drinking read that people read in one part, but it says nothing about being queer. I really thought it said nothing important about being queer. It said nothing about, it's just like a good hug for kids, is what I felt.
Also, yeah, like maximum, like 11, 12-year old are still struggling with identity, still trying to understand,
And yeah, you want to tell them like your mom will accept you, your friends will be okay, the guy you like will like you back, like you will find your drag family.
Yeah, in general it is
just want to tell them
as
it's good, yeah,
acceptance
world is
goes.
okay.
Like वैसा वाला कि minor inconvenience होएगा, but फिर सब ठीक होएगा.
फिर सब ठीक होगा, पिक्चर अभी बाकी है. It's that.
तो ऐसे don't stress. Yeah.
मेरे को भी पूरे उसमें यही लगा. I think that was the running theme कि I don't think he painted a rosy picture, लेकिन जितना स्ट्रगल एज एन राइटर हमें बता रहा था कि उसके प्रोटैगनिस्ट के साथ हो रहा था, उतना महसूस नहीं हो रहा था कि उसको स्ट्रगल हो रहा है. हाँ, मतलब कि he was always keeping it कि प्रॉब्लम्स हैं लाइफ में, and he is struggling, Mike is struggling with different things, लेकिन उतना इम्पैक्ट उस स्ट्रगल का आई थिंक नहीं पड़ रहा था कि हाँ ठीक हो रहा है तेरे साथ ना, बाद में 2 पेजेस के बाद वो सॉल्व हो जा रहा है. एंड एवरी योर गर्ल और गर्ल्स ने जो बुली किया वो तेरे को आके सॉरी बोल रही है, और ऐसे जिसने घोस्ट किया था वो भी आके सब, मतलब वो ये कि 2-3 पेज के बाद वो ठीक हो जाएगा. मदर एक बार चाटा मारा, लेकिन फिर बाद में शी इज बीन रियली नाइस.
2 पेज हो जाएगा सब पेज.
After a certain point you understand that this is a trend. I mean, this is how it is going to be. So you also start feeling कि हाँ, मतलब पिछले वाले ठीक हो गए, ये भी 2, like you said, 2 पेज बाद ठीक ही हो जाएगा. You also
वो
like
ये नहीं है ना, टेंशन रिलीज का जो गेम होता है हर स्टोरी में, था ही नहीं इसमें पूरा ऐसा.
बट मेरे को ऐसा लगा कि द कैरेक्टर टिल द एंड केप्ट फीलिंग एटलीस्ट कि बहुत मुश्किल है भाई, काफी दिक्कतों से गुजर रहा हूं मैं, और काफी मतलब अगेन उसकी जर्नी ऐसा लगा कि पोर्ट्रे ऐसे हुई है कि बहुत मुश्किल है.
वो तो आई थिंक
पोर्ट्रे ऐसे किया गया कि उसकी जर्नी मुश्किल है, लेकिन इतनी मुश्किल थी नहीं मे बी, और एटलीस्ट मुझे ऐसा लगा.
Yeah. You wanna say hi? You wanna say hi? Spider दिख गया.
Hi बोलो, जाओ.
Hi बोल दो.
Hi Spider-Man.
Hi.
ये रिकॉर्ड हुआ है, इसका जिप बनेगा.
रील काट ऐसे करके.
आयुष रील काट.
स्टिकर बनाओ, स्टिकर.
So just wanted to say hi. तो अच्छा 1 मिनट रुक जाओ. पॉज कर दे, रिकॉर्डिंग पॉज कर दे भाई.
रुको.
थॉट्स जब फ्लो होते तो रोकना नहीं चाहिए.
गो फॉर
ऐसा लग रहा था कि
Sorry.
ऐसा लग गया है।
I was thinking they are discounting the whole thing a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
there are bigger challenges. Yeah, like I said when I was discussing, when जो दिखा रहे थे, it never felt like a challenge. ठीक है, थोड़े hiccups हमारे सबके लाइफ में आते हैं. अरे बेस्ट फ्रेंड
यार
ने बात
इंडिया
करना
में
बंद कर दिया.
To be honest, he
फिर
came from privilege. I felt he
Yeah.
he always came from privilege. मतलब ऐसा तो कुछ भी नहीं हुआ उसके साथ कि
Also,
हाँ, when it started off saying कि हाँ parents separate हो गए, I said yes, ये हुई ना बात.
क्या sadist हो भाई.
यहाँ से intensity शुरू हो गई. बस parents separate हो गए, उसकी लाइफ में कोई impact ही नहीं पड़ा उसका. बस
उसके दो बाप मिल गए उसको.
और 2 गिफ्ट भी, टेलीस्कोप भी मिला.
ये दो
टेलीस्कोप मिला.
भाई वो प्राइवेट स्कूल जा रहा है, वो स्कूल
ऑल्सो
चेंज
इफ यू
Right.
नोटिस, उसके मॉम के जो बॉयफ्रेंड्स एक या दो BMW और ऑडी में थे दोनों. मतलब सो
और इतना भी बुरा चीज नहीं किया उसने, सिर्फ नाइटमेयर और एल्म स्ट्रीट दिखाया वो. बस
इट इज जस्ट एड्रेस की उसके पास डेजी के कॉलेज में जाने इतना पैसा नहीं है. दैट्स व्हाट वाज एड्रेस एट सम पॉइंट.
बट बाद में
इतना ज्यादा नहीं है.
प्राइवेट स्कूल गया.
प्राइवेट
still
गया
वो
और
ये
चेंज
वाले-
भी किया है.
या
प्राइवेट स्कूल गया म्यूजिक के लिए, और फिर वो उधर से कुछ एक फालतू सा कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हुआ, उधर
First
से
of
भाग
all,
के आ गया.
म्यूजिक
भाग के और भाग के भागने दिया वहां पे.
कर रहा है. दैट इज आल्सो पार्ट ऑफ अ प्रिविलेज.
वो always came
थोड़ा
from
सा
privilege.
हाँ, ये सब एकदम मजेदार कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स.
मैं ज्यादा बुली हुआ था यार स्कूल में.
मैं ज्यादा बुली हुआ था स्कूल में.
मतलब मेरा ये कहना स्टार्ट में कि आई कुड रिलेट विद इट इज अ प्रॉब्लम. आई शुड नॉट बी एबल टू रिलेट विद इट. इट शुड बी लाइक बहुत ज्यादा.
Many levels away from you, right? So that's why you're reading the story, because it's something, it's a world that you are not aware of.
Shouldn't also, like, I'm glad that somebody
Not
had a good
completely
experience being
unrelatable.
queer. No, I'm saying I'm glad that somebody had a good experience being queer. My issue is the way that they talk about it is very lack of depth. Like if they would have, I'm telling, like yeah, you can be rich, you can be, अब मैं Indian context में, you can be a guy, you can be upper caste, you can be rich, you can be extremely well-to-do, live in the best part of the country, and yet being queer would have their struggles, and those struggles we know of. I just wish they would have dwelled into that part rather than making you feel for the fact that they want a Barbie. I'm like, I can't care for this. So that is
correct.
They didn't touch upon a lot of characters, I felt. मतलब वो ऊपर से स्क्रैच कर दिया. Like उसकी सिस्टर वाले कैरेक्टर पे वो डेप्थ पे नहीं गए कि what did his sister feel about.
Like वो स्ट्रेंजर थिंग्स में माइक की सिस्टर है ना, जो बस है आज ये देखो खेल रही है बाजू में, ये देखो बीच पे गई. दैट्स हाउ.
हाँ बस मतलब उसकी सिस्टर ने कभी उसमें नहीं गए. उसकी मदर पे ऐसे दिखाया कि शी इज लाइक इन काइंड ऑफ बॉर्डरलाइन डिनायल. Like she doesn't want to talk about it with him. Like, you know, she's not really happy with it, and I think that instance
she's
was when
accepting,
he
no?
had
Vesa,
asked.
like I felt
kind of accepting.
She accepted very soon.
But she didn't want to talk about it like openly. Like she didn't want to delve deep
or
into
they
what
didn't show the conversations enough between the mother
possible.
about
वही ना, छवि भी बोली ना लंबी हो सकती थी. छवि आई थिंक पीयू बोली लंबी हो सकती थी. भाई लो ना टाइम. मतलब व्हाट आर यू डूइंग.
अच्छा मैं बोलूं अब.
विश्वेश.
ओके.
हाय विश्वेश.
हेलो. हाँ तो मेरा एक्चुअली आप सब लोगों को जो चीजें पसंद नहीं आई, दोज वेर द रीजंस व्हाई आई लाइक दिस बुक एक्चुअली. तो मेरा ऐसा मानना है लाइफ इज एनीवेज वेरी बोरिंग, स्पेशली इफ यू आर प्रिविलेज्ड, राइट. तो उस मेरे लिए सबसे अच्छी चीज जो वर्क कर गई ये बुक में इज द नॉर्मेलिटी ऑफ हिज लाइफ, इवन इफ ही इज क्वेयर या जो भी है, एंड जेंडर नॉन. मतलब एक जो अप्रोच लिया है ऑथर ने, दैट्स हाउ द रियल लाइफ इज. अपने लाइफ में कहाँ रोज यार एक्साइटिंग चीजें होती है. 99%, 95% ऑफ द टाइम इट्स जस्ट मंडेन, राइट. हमदर्द ही चालू होता है पूरा. तो मुझे ऐसा लगा कि दैट्स अ गुड थिंग. और साइड कैरेक्टर जैसे सिस्टर के बारे में अभी बहुत सारे लोगों ने बोला कि यार साइड कैरेक्टर्स डेप्थ में नहीं गए. वेरी फ्यू रिलेशनशिप्स, मतलब हम खुद भी बहुत कम रिलेशनशिप्स के डेप्थ में जाते हैं. तो व्हाई डू वी एक्सपेक्ट दीज थिंग्स फ्रॉम बुक्स. and authors. Why can't they just write normal life, right? मेरा जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है इवन सीसीटी के साथ भी जो हुआ कि भाई हर चीज में ग्रीफ क्यों ढूंढना है, हर चीज में डेप्थ क्यों ढूंढना है, हर चीज में स्ट्रगल क्यों होना चाहिए. एंड बीइंग अ पेरेंट आई कुड रिलेट टू ऑल दिस थिंग्स बिकॉज सी उसकी मॉम जो है इस बुक में स्पेशली शी इज प्रोटेक्टिव एंड केयरिंग अबाउट हर सन, और इसी के लिए शी इज प्रोटेक्टिंग हिम फ्रॉम द सोसाइटी. तो वो ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स को भी वो क्यों बताती नहीं है कि ये ऐसा है वैसा है, बिकॉज शी फील्स कि जो चल रहा है वो चलने दो, दे लव हिम. यहाँ पे वो कितने ही बार आता है, साल में 2 दिन आता होगा, 5 दिन आता होगा, तो वो 5 दिन के लिए क्यों दिमाग का दही करना है बता के. सो एंड दैट्स व्हाट हैपेंस इन फैमिलीज. मतलब अपने यहाँ पे कितना भी मियाँ बीवी का झगड़ा चल रहा है, वो जब फंक्शन में जाते हैं तो एक दूसरे का हाथ पकड़ के ही खड़े रहते हैं, बिकॉज फंक्शन में तुम 2 घंटे के लिए हो, वहां पे क्यों अभी अपना नहीं मेरा झगड़ा चल रहा है मैं उसकी तरफ नहीं देखूंगा वो मेरी तरफ नहीं देख, ऐसा थोड़ी करते हैं हम लोग. So that's how the real life is. And that's what actually worked for me in this book. What didn't work for me was verse. Verses were very poor. मतलब मैंने
Yeah,
actually
let's all agree वो बहुत ही खराब राइटिंग स्टाइल है.
वो खराब राइटिंग है.
हाँ यार नहीं
और
पढ़ सकती मैं ऐसे. और
और एक दो चीजें हैं कि जहाँ पे ऑथर ने खुद के ओपिनियन कैरेक्टर के ऊपर डाल दिए, जैसे वीगन्स के अगेंस्ट, या फिर the way he portrayed Daisy. I didn't like it. I mean, calling her racist, yeah, whatever it is, because see, at the end of the day, उसने racist बोला या कुछ भी बोला हो, she cared for him, right? And so I think again this is a very common thing about lack of depth in youth, जो कि सब में है. आज अपने ही बच्चों को देख लो जो टीनेज में है या यंग बच्चे हैं, उनके कितने डेप्थ वाले रिलेशनशिप्स है, हार्डली एनी. दे डोंट केयर. नहीं मिले लोग, रिश्तेदार, ये वो, उनको कुछ फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. वर्सेस अपना अपब्रिंगिंग जब था, या फिर व्हेन वी रीच टू दैट एज वेयर नाउ वी केयर अबाउट फ्रेंड्स, वी केयर अबाउट रिलेशनशिप, अरे नहीं इसका क्या हुआ उसका क्या हुआ, उनको कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. एंड दैट्स व्हाट कमिंग ऑफ एज इज, राइट? आई मीन आई थिंक 13 साल और ये इसमें एवरीथिंग इज शैलो, द लाइफ, द रिलेशनशिप्स, ये सब शैलो ही होता है उस वक्त. तो मुझे लगा कि वो एक्चुअली अच्छा लिखा है ऑथर ने. मतलब अगेन दिस इज अ डिफरेंट टेक विच आई काइंड ऑफ गॉट फ्रॉम द बुक, बिकॉज आई एक्चुअली वेंट कंप्लीटली ब्लैंक. मैंने कुछ उसका रिव्यू वगैरह पढ़ा नहीं था, मैं डायरेक्टली गया और एकदम से जब LGBTQ एंगल आया या रेसिज्म का एंगल आया, देन आई रियलाइज. बट जो स्ट्रगल्स बताया, प्रॉब्ली इतने ही स्ट्रगल्स प्रिविलेज लोगों को करने पड़ते होंगे, इससे ज्यादा नहीं करने पड़ते होंगे, बिकॉज दैट्स हाउ वर्ल्ड हैज ओपनड अप नाउ फॉर दीज थिंग्स. नथिंग एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी हैपेंस इन नॉर्मल लाइफ एनीवेज.
हाँ वही
But
पॉइंट
that's
है
my
कि
take.
तो विशेष
एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी कुछ है नहीं ज्यादा.
correct.
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, वही बात हो रही थी ना, राइट? हाँ बोलिए.
हाँ, तो वही मैं बोल रहा कि क्यों चाहिए कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हमें.
नहीं
Correct.
क्यों नहीं, मतलब
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट स्टोरी में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट इज देयर टू क्रिएट क्वेश्चन इन. आप ये पढ़ लो, आपने जो बुक सजेस्ट की थी मंक एंड रोबोट
मैं वही
वाली,
बोल रहा हूँ. बट देर
उसमें
हर एक
बट
का अलग लिखने का स्टाइल है ना. प्रॉब्लली
लिखने का स्टाइल रहता है. आई एम सेइंग आई डोंट हैव अ प्रॉब्लम विद द लिखने का स्टाइल, बट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट करने का पॉइंट इज टू गेट यू इंटरेस्टेड इन द स्टोरी. लाइक इसने स्टार्टिंग में जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट किया,
invested in the
हाँ, और
characters.
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट का ये भी, हाँ, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट किया, रेजोल्यूशन होता है, बट यूजुअली इट टेक्स एन आर्क, इट द कैरेक्टर गोस थ्रू चेंजेस. इसमें कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हुआ, रेजोल्यूशन इमीडिएटली हुआ. ऐसा नहीं कि कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो रहा नहीं है, इसमें छोटे मोटे भी हो रहे हैं, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो रहे हैं. हाँ, एंड आई डोंट हैव प्रॉब्लम विद दैट. आई हैव रेड शॉर्ट स्टोरीज या जिसमें लोग आदमी सिर्फ चल रहा है, बट इतने सुंदर तरीके से लिखा है, कुछ ज्यादा हो नहीं रहा. इसमें वही मेरे को एक तो राइटिंग में वही प्रॉब्लम आया कि है ना,
एग्जैक्टली इट्स अ बैडली रिटन बुक, इसीलिए शायद थोड़ा ये हुआ.
वो
एंड दिस
प्रॉब्लम आ
कुड
रहा
हैव
है.
बीन अ शॉर्ट स्टोरी.
एंड अगेन
मतलब
दिस कुड
तुमने
हैव बीन अ
बोले ये
स्पोकन
लंबी
वर्ड, और
होनी
वहीं पे
लंबा होना चाहिए। मैं उल्टा बोल रहा हूँ कि दिस कुड हैव बीन अ शॉर्ट स्टोरी।
सॉरी टू इंटरप्ट, एक बस विश्वेश जी का एक जो था कि एक ये कि मतलब लफड़े क्यों चाहिए, मतलब लफड़े इसलिए चाहिए क्योंकि हमारी लाइफ में कुछ नहीं है, बुक इज एन एस्केपिज्म।
Exactly.
हाँ, तो मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ, आई एम बियॉन्ड दैट नाउ, दैट्स व्हाई आई कुड।
आपको इनर पीस मिल चुका है, आपको इनर पीस मिल चुका है, आप सबसे ऊपर उठ चुके हो।
नहीं, a good
That's why I'm
story,
saying।
नहीं, I don't
Actually,
agree with that. A
फिर
good
मेरे
story,
लाइफ में बहुत सारे
Second,
लफड़े चल रहे हैं, ऐसा बोल सकते हैं।
नहीं,
a
I
good
think
story doesn't
another
need
fact,
extraordinary things to happen.
Exactly.
Extraordinary things happen to ordinary people every day, but it's the way you write it. It's the way you project it.
also I
It's
think
Correct.
मतलब it is not, I guess हम लोग conflict word गलत use कर रहे हैं. The point that we want is we were not too invested in the character जितना we wanted to be. Like it can be a
Couldn't get
conflict, it can be
invested.
writing, something has to make us really root for the character, right? अगर आप ultimately कोई story सुन रहे हो तो आप एक character या कुछ something in the book, right? Something that you're rooting for. Through the book, invested. वो नहीं kind of I
हाँ,
suppose.
but मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ कि what I feel is the writing is also limited to the capacity of the writer.
हाँ.
और
And I think this was the debut novel, right?
मैंने जब डीन एटा के बारे में पढ़ा तो मतलब सब जगह यही लिखा है, उसके इंटरव्यूज भी अगर आपने सुने तो ही बेसिकली हैड अ वेरी नॉर्मल ग्रोइंग अप लाइफ, ऐसा कुछ उसके इसमें बहुत कुछ उल्टा पालत हुआ नहीं था। तो आई डोंट थिंक कि सो
Going from
फॉर हिम,
experience.
हाँ, एक्सपीरियंस से तो वो कुछ लिख नहीं पाता था, तो इमेजिनेशन से उसका जितना कैपेसिटी था या फिर आजू बाजू उसने जो देखा वही लिखा। अगेन इफ ही इज लिविंग इन अ सोसाइटी वेयर दीज थिंग्स आर काइंड ऑफ एक्सेप्टेबल, तो फिर ये होता है। अभी सिंपल एग्जांपल मैं आपको देता हूँ, अगर इंडिया में भी आप देखो, चलो क्यूयर वगैरह तो अभी भी अपने यहाँ पे टैबू है थोड़ा, बट अगर कोई मेंटली चैलेंज किड अगर किसी का है, स्पेशल एबिलिटी वाला, तो उस केस में भी पेरेंट का एक्सेप्टेंस नहीं होता है फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम, एंड दे कीप ट्राइंग। अभी मेरे काफी करीबी फैमिली मेंबर के साथ ये हो रहा है कि दे आर ऑलरेडी ऑटिज्म डिटेक्ट हो चुका है, बट दे आर नॉट रेडी टू एक्सेप्ट, दे वो स्टिल वांट टू ट्राई टिल 6 years, और अभी वो 3-3.5 साल की है बच्ची, तो वो बोल रहे हैं अभी हमारे
सबको
पास 2
नॉर्मल
साल
चाहिए
है।
होता है ना.
सबको नॉर्मल चाहिए होता है, तो बेसिकली दे आर नॉट रेडी टू एक्सेप्ट एट एट सर्टेन पॉइंट इन देयर डे टू डे रूटीन दे एक्सेप्ट, क्योंकि उनको रियलिटी पता है कि क्या है, बट दे प्रिटेंड नॉट टू एक्सेप्ट। और अभी सबको बताने की क्या जरूरत है, तो किसी को बताया नहीं है, सिर्फ हमें बताया हुआ है। तो सोसाइटी में कहीं बाहर नहीं जाना है, किसी के घर नहीं जाना है, सिर्फ हमारे घर आना है। तो ये सारी चीजें अभी धीरे धीरे शुरू होने लगी, बिकॉज पीपल सडनली सी क्या रही है, कुछ अलग लग रही है बच्ची। तो ये होता है, और यही चीज मुझे लगता है इसके माँ के साथ भी होती होगी, इसीलिए शी बेसिकली जस्ट कीप क्वाइट। उसको पता है कि अपना लड़का कैसा है, एंड दैट्स हाउ नॉर्मल पेरेंट्स वुड बिहेव, राइट? कि बताने की क्या जरूरत है, जो चल रहा है चलने दो। एंड शी, आई मीन, यूजुअली पेरेंट्स डोंट हैव अ चॉइस बट टू एक्सेप्ट। आई मीन, एक्सेप्ट ना करके क्या करोगे, स्पेशली मॉम्स, मदर्स।
Single mom.
फादर्स के होते हैं, हाँ, फादर्स के होते हैं नखरे कई बार, बट मदर्स को दे डोंट हैव अ चॉइस। मतलब ये क्या ही बोल सकती थी कि मैं एक्सेप्ट नहीं करूंगी तो क्या होगा, मतलब कुछ तो क्या करे। तो दैट इज what I felt. But yeah, I agree with all the points which you guys discussed as well. But for me, probably ये थोड़ा नॉर्मल चीजें जो नॉर्मली उसने लिखी वो वर्क करी हमें।
तो विश्वेश भाई, आपके ज्वाइन करने से पहले, आई थिंक आपके ज्वाइन करने से पहले 2 चीजें बोली गई। एक तो छवि ने कहा कि ये बुक हमारे लिए है ही नहीं, इट इज लाइक, इट्स लाइक अ यंग एडल्ट जॉनर जिसमें यू आर सपोज, है ना, सपोज टू गिव अ क्लोजर फटाफट एंड ज्यादा डीप नहीं जाना है। तो आई थिंक यू आर ऑल्सो अग्रीइंग टू दैट। सेकेंडली, मैं भूल गया सेकेंडली क्या बोलने वाला था मैं। हाँ, आई आस्क्ड अ क्वेश्चन टू एवरीवन आस्किंग दैट आर वी आस्किंग फॉर ड्रामा बिकॉज वी कम फ्रॉम एन इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट। तो मे बी उसमें भी
इंडियन
बहुत
से ज्यादा मैं बोलूंगा वी आर आस्किंग फॉर ड्रामा बिकॉज वी आर कमिंग फ्रॉम प्रिविलेज कॉन्टेक्स्ट।
हाँ, हो सकता है। तो या आई मीन आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट कौन सा सही है, बट अदर्स सेड दैट या not right.
मतलब it's a very interesting question. If you ask your parents कि भाई ये सास बहू के सीरियल्स क्यों देखते हो,
हाँ,
झगड़े वाले सालों साल सेम स्टोरीज रिपीट होती रहती है उसमें हर बार, तो क्यों देखते हो? क्योंकि वो उनके लाइफ में नहीं हो रहा है, राइट? सेम थिंग व्हाट नयन प्रॉब्ली सेड कि ये दे
लफड़े
दे
चाहिए।
हाँ, लफड़े चाहिए से भी ज्यादा ये है कि बॉस वो लफड़े देख के उनको लगता है चलो अपना तो अच्छा चल रहा है, राइट? वो
But we
लफड़े देख
also
के
read or consume content because of relatability, right? At least I have. मतलब अगर मुझे मेरे जैसा कोई प्रोटोगनिस्ट दिखता है जिसको मेरे जैसे इश्यूज रहे हो लाइफ में, आई गेट मोर इन्वेस्टेड इनटू द बुक. काइंड ऑफ आई फील कि मैं अकेली नहीं हूँ, यू नो, आई एम नॉट अलोन. So that is also something I feel. And I didn't feel, I started feeling for this guy because of the issues he was feeling in school, because I was also troubled in school a lot. But as uske baad it just dipped, like what Sumit said, that I was also bullied in
हाँ
school and I was more bullied.
Correct.
Nandini कुछ बोल रही है.
हाँ नंदिनी बोलिए.
So, no, I just wanted to share my opinion as well. Apart from what most of you guys have already said, I agree with the fact that it does feel like the target audience, are people who are much younger than us, teenagers especially. And I guess it's like a good, entryway in some ways if they're trying to not get fully into it, but just get like a superficial idea
Correct.
of what it could be. At the same time, I was thinking in terms of, what would I ask, say, my mom to read it? And the thing is that when a relative in our in my mom's side of the family, their kid did come out to the parents. And at that point was the first time that my mom actually heard of somebody so close to us, talking about this. And until then, I think हम इस बारे में उतना deep बात नहीं करते थे. So when the sex education series started, I told my mom to watch it, and she was a little hesitant initially. But once she started watching it, she started talking more about it, and it felt like she genuinely did become a little curious. And then, uske baad, it's not like I had to say anything. She ended up watching most of it, and she genuinely had questions, like कि क्या सच में ऐसा इतना मुश्किल होता है, क्या ऐसा होता है, क्या ये इंडिया में भी होता है, those kinds of things. So when I think about it from that lens, I feel the series is a little more, I guess, what's the word, yaar? Accessible, I guess. And I think it also answers more questions, because I feel with every episode you get to know how different people are dealing with different things. Like two characters who are, like Eric's character and Adam's character in Sex Education, if you guys watch it, they deal with their sexuality so differently, right? So I'm saying that I think that gives you a better understanding if you want to get into it a little deeper at the same time in like an entertaining manner. Similarly, this book, I feel, can be entertaining in parts, and at the same time, thoda bahut agar you want to know about it, then the information is, I mean, it's just sprinkled. It's not anything too deep. But
there are
it's
better
not,
books.
yeah, I'm sure there are better books, exactly. So I wouldn't recommend anybody to read this book if they want to know more about this.
About it.
That's the only thing. And yeah, I mean, I understand the whole lack of conflict wala cheese and all those kinds of things. And I haven't read any book on this topic. So, for me, watching Sex Education was a refreshing change because उससे पहले मैंने बहुत दुखी movies देखी थी, हावी मिल्क वाली या Brokeback Mountain, and उसमें you're like, अरे यार क्या depression हो रहा है, you feel so bad for them, and then when you watch something like Sex Education, you feel okay, fine, there is some happiness also, and people are trying to show it in a positive manner as well.
And
But yeah.
it also matters if you have a lot of friends who are from the community around you, right? So in my case, half of my US colleagues are LGBTQ plus. This thing, tons of my friends are LGBTQ, even in India, as well as in US. So I know what they go through, and they go through nothing. I mean, to be very honest, because all of them are from privileged, this thing, they are very, very, I mean, what struggles do you think Karan Johar has?
I mean, he still
Right.
hasn't come out to be completely
but
honest. He still hasn't
he
come
doesn't have to. He doesn't have to come out, right? I mean, it's his choice. Public,
Sure.
because he's a public figure, वो publicly come out उसने किया नहीं होगा, but उसने अपने दोस्तों के साथ, पेरेंट्स के साथ तो definitely किया होगा. For people for whom it matters, right? So मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ कि जिनको मैटर करता है वहां पे तो किया ही है. अभी सैम आल्टमन ने कल एक बंदे के साथ शादी की परसों, तो he doesn't have to come out on Twitter and declare कि भाई मैं ओपन एआई का फाउंडर हूँ एंड आई एम गे, या फिर टिम कुक को बताने की जरूरत नहीं थी जब तक उसके ऊपर सोशल प्रेशर नहीं आया, राइट, दैट ओपनली दैट ही इज गे और व्हाटएवर इट इज. सो आई थिंक अभी the society has matured enough to accept these things, and अपने इंडिया में सिर्फ ये प्रॉब्लम है कि there is a generation which is still alive, right, which probably doesn't have the awareness.
Yeah, so I was coming to that
15 साल बाद ये नहीं होगा.
So specifically about this topic, I watched a Malayalam movie called Katal, The Core, and the thing is, I feel that movie should be watched by everybody.
Yes.
And you don't have to even think in terms of कि अरे ये किस बारे में है या जो भी है. I feel the maturity with which the movie is made, it is not just accessible to anybody. It also says a lot without being preachy, and I love that about it, specifically about this topic. I think it's necessary, especially in India, to not be preachy, because then you just lose the audience entirely. And I think that's the best part about this movie, and the way it's set, the specific things that the characters do, not just in terms of their careers, but also in terms of the society they live in. Everything is quite on point, and I really like that about the film. In terms of the coming back to the book, like I was just saying that for someone who's trying to make maybe their child understand, or maybe their, I mean, like 8-year-old, 10-year-old kid understand this topic, this is a good probably thing they could pick up if they want to read with their kid. But then again, maybe there are better books available. Overall, it had a very moral of the story feel constantly throughout. So if that is okay, and that is something that people are looking for, then I guess this is a good book for them. But for me, even though I haven't read enough books on this topic, this was an average read. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. So Thank you, Nandini. Next up, I can see Eklavya. Starting thoughts. Eklavya Chinmay. Starting thoughts. Eklavya, go for it.
So I'll just give a general context. A lot of people said that this is a good book for somebody who's coming out of a slump of not reading and stuff, right? I am one of those because I have not read a fictional novel for years and years now. I think last 2 साल पहले 2-2.5 साल पहले कुछ पढ़ा होगा तो वो है. So, of course, before that, I can tell you that I had already started off with the manga that is this month's book of the month because I didn't know about this book. But this book was a very simple book for me. It was a very easy book for me to pick up and finish it off. Even though I don't sit and read so specifically, but I could do it with maybe like 2 sittings or sorts. Of course, there's one part which I also did the audiobook aspect of it. So that is me just telling in that context ki the book at least helped me understand ki boss, I can get through reading without making it seem like a big deal when it comes to fictional novels or generally novels, right? So yesterday when I had come, I had finished the first half of first third of the book. Now I have finished about almost the full book. Some part remains. What I came to realize is yesterday I was more concerned about the character more on the aspect because वो जो बचपन में जो उसका कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स है ना उससे मैं बहुत रिलेट किया हूँ कि मैं भी वो फर्स्ट टाइम कुछ मैंने गलती किया तो एंड माय मदर नोज दैट आई हैव डन अ मिस्टेक तो आई एम आल्सो स्वेटिंग एंड आई एम आल्सो हैविंग दो सेम इमोशन बट एज ही केप्ट ग्रोइंग आई फेल्ट हिज लेवल ऑफ जो like the way he was feeling the world still remained as a child only, and that could be because as what everybody else put ki maybe wo like it is directed towards kids and in that particular age group that they could understand because like I could understand ki as a child be getting bullied. Of course the level of bullying could range from everybody's different experiences and all those aspects, but wo fir bhi mere ko samajh aaya. But as he started growing up, going into college, like moving in that aspect of his life, I still felt like whatever he was discussing and talking about was very much as a 10-year-old or 11-year-old would describe an 18, 19-year-old's life, right? So that is my first thought. Secondly, I also accept, and I think for me it was a simple and easy read because it did not have a lot of depth in the book. And that I am very much okay with because it was for me a very beginning aspect in reading itself. So that's where when because Vishwash Bhai already said this, but I was very much okay with the fact that it didn't have much depth in it and didn't have much conflict because of my personal aspect of me having to get through this book in say a day two, and just reading through it. I immediately, as I was reading the book, page by chapter, by the second part of the book itself, started drawing parallels to what Eric's story in sex education was, and trying to draw parallels with how I have witnessed the drag community, the LGBTQ plus community from other pieces of content that I have gone through. Of course, because Nandini's brought up Kathal, I think that in India's context, I think that is one of the best films in the way they have managed to handle that situation. But yeah, so those were my general ideas and context. I surely felt like some of the conflict resolution तो was एकदम वो मेरे को 10 साल 11 साल में वो दो लड़कियां they were rude to him, and then suddenly one day they saw him and they started crying. So I had no idea, man. I've never had that kind of revelation, especially as children doing that. I can still understand. So I have a direct context with a startup that does working in education for kids between age 10 to 15. So as children, I can still understand कि वो लोग को कुछ गलत लगा एक दिन, next दिन आके रो के hugged it out and sorted it. But an 18-19-year-old doing that didn't seem I think that's where I disconnected with the character completely. Like after that, whatever I read, I just read through it so that I could get through the story and come to this session specifically. So I think that's my general context of what the book was. I of course, not having read a lot of fictional novels in my space, I cannot judge the writing of the book, but I can surely, with whatever reading I have done in my space, the writing seemed very poor. Like I felt like he could really have written a lot of aspects in the course of writing well. He started off with, as a child, he wanted to show like what 3-4 like 4 years, 6 years, 10 years as he's growing. But as he's growing, his level of defining the way his emotions didn't seem to grow, is what I had a general context of. But I was very much okay because of my personal expectation कि वो कुछ बहुत डेप्थ नहीं था, तो मैं एक ही बार में बैठ के पढ़ लिया. It felt like a normal day in my life kind of a situation कि हाँ बस चल रहे हैं अरे ये कुछ हो गया, चल रहे हैं and stuff like that. So I think that helped. One thing I surely would like to appreciate and thank, and of course, I'm for whoever doesn't know me, I'm Eklavya. I'm very new to the space. I've joined the group now, but I'm very thankful कि because of this expectation कि ये पढ़ के यहाँ आना है, is why I have read my first book. So I hope to continue this, and I'm sure I'll finish Vishwesh Bhai's manga for sure. So that is another this that I want to put out, that for everybody in the community, thank you for bringing this up, because of which I have been able to get on this, and I hope to read a lot more and have and some
52 books पढ़ने वाले इस साल एकदम 52
done
books.
Vishwesh Bhai, I'm with you in this. And लिख रहा है ये लड़का है कौन. And already मेरे को इतना पता है कि 2025 तक लोगों ने बुक कर लिया है, but 26 27 कभी ना कभी मेरा भी एक बुक ऑफ द मंथ आ जाए, उतना मैं
आपको भी असाइन हो
लेवल
गया
में पढ़
आपको भी
जाऊंगा.
असाइन हो गया यू शुड चेक इट आपको भी असाइन हुआ होगा
तो बस तो तब तक I will be
होगा
on the journey. But yeah, thank you. So I think that's my general context. I feel, yes, I surely feel there are very better content pieces if you want to explore what LGBTQ plus is, what drag is, what much more on that aspect is. But for me, it was just my first read, and it seemed simple, and I could do it without having much of a thought given to it. I was on the treadmill and listening to the audiobook. Still, I caught up to everything what was happening. So it didn't seem like very difficult in that sense. So that's mostly my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Eklavya. And same vibe, positive kind of peer pressure to have these bunch of people.
Yeah,
So-
I think we are now done. I mean, he's proven that our mission has been accomplished. So I think.
Yep, it's working for sure. Next up is Chinmay. He's been starting comments, summary, go for it. And then
First
next
of
up
all-
is Diljit, and Diljit ke baad I'll be coming to Phoenix. Go for it, Chinmay.
First of all, I would like to say कि I knew this was the book for December, but मुझे 2024 का काउंट बढ़ाना था, इसलिए मैंने शिद्दत से 1 जनवरी को चालू किया ताकि मेरा काउंट 2024 में आए. So thank you
Very
for
good.
that कि एक अच्छा breezy read मिल गया मुझे, and I
मैंने
could get a
सेम
start.
कॉन्सेप्ट लगाया 2023 में रीड करने
Yeah. So first of all that.
Cheater.
Secondly, when I finished the book, I really मतलब बहुत अच्छा लगा मुझे. And then when I started thinking about it, then I found some problems with the book that I didn't agree with. So first of all, coming to the thing that I like, so verse में लिखा था that I didn't like, but the poetry itself was good. So poetry I like. And I also discussed this with Nikhil Bhai that one thing I noticed was he has been in the book, Michael has been writing poetry at different ages of his life, right? So it is very consciously written कि 5 साल का बच्चा अगर poetry लिख रहा है तो it should look like it is written by a 5-year-old. And by the time you come to the poems like I come from, etc., then the poetry aspect is very refined in that. So वो मुझे जरा लगा कि ठीक है, that has been done in a very nice way. Again, there were some concepts that they should have dwelled deeper into, like everyone has said, but they didn't. But I didn't have a problem with it as such. But yes, conflicts की जो बात हो रही थी, I agree with it. And especially I would like to mention the fact कि जो Daisy के साथ उन्होंने conflict दिखाया था उनका, कि Daisy is kind of homophobic and they have a fight about it. So at that point of the time in story, I was expecting that finally some real conflict is gonna come. There should be a confrontation and it should result in some good conversations, good points to ponder about why some people are homophobic or why the world is the way it is. But they didn't go for it. They went for an angle कि Daisy turns out to be a lesbian. एंड देन अगेन क्रेडिट टू दैट कि उसकी वजह से इंटरनलाइज्ड होमोफोबिया नाम का जो कंसेप्ट था दैट आई वाज नॉट फेमिलियर विद, सो आई एक्चुअली वेंट आउट एंड रिसर्च अबाउट इट एंड इट वाज गुड कि ऐसी चीजों के बारे में डिस्कस करने के लिए देयर आर सम थ्रो अवे वर्ड्स और टर्म दैट आर थ्रोन कि आपको अगर उसके बारे में पता नहीं तो यू कैन गो एंड रीड. But again, writing part of the book, I still felt it was a little bit weak. And one of the मतलब loopholes कह सकते that really annoyed me that Eklavya bhai was talking about how the girls come and apologize to him, and later it revealed that the girl's brother was the one our lead character had a crush on in बचपन, and he just mentions कि मुझे पता ही नहीं था वो भाई बहन थे. I did not buy it at all. कि भाई
सेम मैं
स्कूल
इतना
में है
पागल
भाई
हूँ.
तुम लोग,
स्कूल
स्कूल
में
में तू ब्रश
ट्विंस है वो
करके नहीं
दोनों.
आता है, स्कूल में तू ब्रश करके नहीं आता तो भी पूरे स्कूल को पता होता है इसके मुंह से बात आ
सही
रहा था
बात
बिकॉज
है यार, ये टू
एंड
मच हो गया।
he just didn't know कि he had a twin sister and I
ट्विन
was like नहीं
सिस्टर
यार
बोला.
I don't buy it at all. तो
I just
ये
ignored
थोड़े
that.
थोड़े हाँ मैंने भी ये सब बोला ठीक है अभी
मेरा जान
खत्म
गया।
करते हैं या but yeah there were some writing problems but overall it was a good experience. So yeah, these are my initial thoughts.
थैंक यू चीनू. मनोतबा आपको कमेंट में पीटर चीनू बोलते हैं और मैं रिकॉर्ड करना चाहता था इसलिए पता नहीं क्यों. बढ़िया. नेक्स्ट अप इज दिलजीत. गो फॉर इट. कुछ तो आपको
हाँ जी. तो एक जनरल कमेंट अबाउट द होल फॉर्मेट ऑफ द बुक ऑफ द मंथ. मतलब हम ऐसे ओपनली आई थिंक वी हैव ऑल सेड कि द बुक इज नॉट अ वेरी ग्रेट बुक, इट्स एन एवरेज रीड. लेकिन कहीं पे भी हमने उस बुक को सेलेक्ट करने वाले को टारगेट नहीं किया, बिकॉज वी नो कि उसने भी वो बुक नहीं पढ़ी थी एंड यू रेड इट विद अस, है ना. तो आई लाइक दिस फॉर्मेट मोर कि आपने रीड करके ये डिसाइड नहीं किया कि दिस इज अ गुड बुक फॉर एवरीवन. मतलब आपने भी हमारे साथ ही डिस्कवर किया कि इट्स नॉट अ ग्रेट बुक एंड विच इज ओके. इट वाज स्टिल अ गुड आई
नहीं,
थिंक.
मेन थिंग इज बाद में भी टारगेट नहीं कर रहे बैड बुक
हाँ
होने के
वही
बाद
कि राइट, क्योंकि आपको भी नहीं पता था, राइट, कि एंड यू डिस्कवर्ड द होल बुक विद अस.
और
तो
अभी भी
आई
हम
लाइक द
टारगेट नहीं
फॉर्मेट ऑफ
कर
द
रहे
बुक
हैं
ऑफ
ना.
द मंथ.
मैं
हाँ, ये
सही ऐसा
सटल
बोल रहा है
टारगेट
लाइक.
तो नहीं है
ऐसा बोला
दिलजीत,
ना
बिल्कुल
अभी
नहीं
नहीं।
कर रहे हैं निखिल टारगेट.
रिकॉर्डिंग बंद होने दो then we'll see.
निखिल बिल्कुल टारगेट
देन
नहीं कर रहे हैं आपको.
5
नहीं.
मिनट लगने के
मुझे
बाद.
एक बात समझ
देन
में आई. जैसे आप बबूमा भाई आप बोलिए. मेरे को सिर्फ एक बात बोलनी है कि जैसे आई व्हेन आई वेंट थ्रू द बुक आल्सो आई वाज आल्सो एक्सपेक्टिंग कि एकदम ही मतलब माइंड ब्लो हो जाएगा कि हैं ऐसा भी होता है. वो तो मेरे साथ भी नहीं हुआ. एंड मतलब मैं उतना गुस्से में नहीं था उस बुक को लेके. एंड पर अब आप लोग की बातें सुन के मुझे लगा हाँ गुस्सा आना चाहिए था मुझे भी कि जिस एक्सपीरियंस के लिए मैंने वो बुक पढ़ी वो तो मिला ही नहीं. मतलब वो सेकंड हैंड भी नहीं मिला, मतलब वो वैसा वाला. या दिलजीत भाई.
No, no, but again, I still very much okay. I'm glad you picked up this book because different तो थी book. Whether it turned out
हाँ
to be a great book or not, it was a different book, है ना.
लीस्ट हमने ये
तो
बात तो की. लीस्ट है कि इस मतलब
हाँ
इसके बारे में
exactly.
हमने बात तो की. तो या दैट
हाँ.
वाज. एंड
Second thing, the one point where I related with the Mikey character very hard was when he cut his dreadlocks. when he cut his hair, क्योंकि उसे लग रहा था कि ये मेरे बालों की वजह से मेरे कैरेक्टर के साथ कुछ ऐसा जोड़ दिया जाता है which has given me sort of an identity जो मैं नहीं हूँ. Later he realized कि उसके बालों का नहीं था, it was just because he was black and sometimes people relate things with black people in general. लेकिन मैंने भी like I had long hair at one point of time in my life. और 2000 if I'm remembering correctly 11 में मैंने बाल कटवाए थे. एंड अगेन ये थोड़ी अननेसेसरी डिटेल होगी बट इन सिखिज्म योर अनकट हेयर प्ले अ वेरी important part of your identity. Like there's been sacrifices made for keeping your hair. There's been uh, tons of literature which tells you कि कितने importance है uncut hair की, right? But although I always took pride in being a Sikh, I always wanted to blend in.
हाँ
And I thought कि these having long hair and again there was the whole inconvenience part of it. Time ज़्यादा लगता था तैयार होने में and all those things. But one thing I always felt कि यार I don't want to stand out. मतलब हमारे गुरुओं ने जो कहा जाता है कि हमें ये स्वरूप दिया था कि हम stand out करें. कि we are Sikhs, we stand out. And I never wanted to do that. I wanted to be a good Sikh, but I never wanted to stand out. I wanted to blend in, right? तो that was तो जब उसने अपने dreadlocks कटवाए, अपने बाल कटवाए कि उसको, and he wanted normal short hair, and did not wanted to be associated with a Jamaican, or even be called similar to Bob Marley. तो I could relate with that part, कि हाँ मतलब ये identity के साथ होता है. And again, that was the whole thing that I liked about the book, कि it was never only about your sexual orientation that you were struggling with. It was race ka, it was identity ka. And then when they started talking about the whole drag thing, उसमें था कि it's being, मतलब ड्रैग इज, अगर आप वो पार्टिसिपेट करते हो तो इट्स नॉट इवन अबाउट योर सेक्सुअलिटी और योर जेंडर. इट्स अ कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट ऑफ योर आइडेंटिटी. तो वो अगेन दीज वर सम ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट आई लाइक्ड, एंड आई कुड रियली रिलेट विद दैट. अनदर थिंग दैट आई नोटिस्ड इज एंड ये थोड़ा इग्नोरेंस मेरे पार्ट पे थी, because I'm again having consumed so much American content, कि when they started talking about football in the beginning, तो मैं नकली वाले फुटबॉल पे पहले मेरा ध्यान गया, क्यों, बिकॉज बहुत सारी वाईए स्टोरीज जो मैंने पढ़ी अमेरिकन वाले में पढ़ी है, तो इमीडिएटली मेरा अमेरिकन फुटबॉल पे गया. बट देन आई रियलाइज, अरे नहीं, ये यूके में बेस्ड है, दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द रियल फुटबॉल हियर, है ना. तो एंड देन आई थिंक आई रिमेम्बर सुमित मेंशनिंग द, एंड मुझे नाम याद नहीं आ रहा, बट द फर्स्ट ओपनली गे फुटबॉलर, आई थिंक सुमित ने किसी कॉन्वर्सेशन में उनका मेंशन किया था, एंड दैट आल्सो दैट ही ended up taking his life because he came out as a gay person, but then the pressure was so much कि he had
He
to
was
end his life.
accused of something and
में ही है ना फर्स्ट ओपनली गे फुटबॉलर, वो बुक.
हाँ वही कि वो कॉन्वर्सेशन हमारा पहले कभी हुआ था वो, राइट. देन लेकिन फिर आई अगेन रियलाइज कि ऑल्दो द बुक इज बेस्ड in the UK, and I could understand references like Hoover, mummy Hoover कर देंगी या दादी Hoover कर देंगी and all that. The celebrities that they used were still very much American, whether it was Nicki Minaj, whether it was Beyonce, whether it was all the sort of his inspirations were mostly American. And I was realizing कि is that the overexposure of American media, or is there a lack of such public figures in the UK, which I find hard to believe कि UK में ऐसे LGBTQ celebrities नहीं.
Michael light some songs from Little Mix. It's a girls band, a girls music collective. Little Mix के उसने गाने कई बार बोले, वो ब्रिटिश है.
Okay.
कुछ है, पर वो
Spice Girls mentions है, थोड़े है, मतलब इतना है.
पर वो सब सॉन्ग्स में है, मतलब अदर इंडस्ट्री में जो भी सारे उसके रोल मॉडल्स हैं, मतलब देयर इज हियर एंड देयर वो एक जोक है कि डेविड बेकहम, तो आर यू बेकहम एंड ऑल दैट.
टॉम डेली इज आल्सो ब्रिटिश, जो जिसका वो फोटोज देखता रहता है कंटिन्यूअसली, राइट.
But even the black characters, black that he says is not
American,
his dad. Will Smith, पूरा Denzel Washington.
Also
Idris Elba
I think Idris Elba is, I think, British. Idris Elba is, yeah.
Also the drag.
And one thing, and हाँ जी,
मैं बोल रहा था ड्रैग कल्चर ब्रिटेन में कितना सॉलिड है. मुझे तो वो रूपॉल ड्रैग रेस ही पता है, जो कि आई थिंक अमेरिका,
US, it is American.
मुझे पता नहीं
It is American. It originated also, I think, there.
नहीं, drag culture, I think from whatever I know, my sister जितना बोलती है मुझे, like it's pretty popular वहाँ पे.
हाँ, it's के कुछ
20-25
में आ चुके हैं और something like that. It's
नहीं, I'm not talking about RuPaul का. I'm saying कि UK का drag culture, what I know from my sisters वैसा. It's pretty popular वैसा. It's not underground वैसा. It's थोड़ा mainstream में आ गया है.
And Nikhil, one question I wanted to put forth to the whole panel is
एक minute, एक चीज I just remembered something, Diljit, just because of drag. I think it also stems from the fact जब शेक्सपियर की plays होती थी ना, तो the female characters used to, I mean that is also something very important. So maybe that's why people might think कि drag culture came from the UK, or it somehow stemmed from.
What did the book say? Dressed as a girl, full form बताया था ना? Drag का dressed as a girl. Dressing
dressed as a girl. हाँ, उसी का drag का तो full form वही
ड्रेस्ड
है,
एज ए
but I'm
फुल
not
फॉर्म
very
वैसा है ना
excited.
कुछ.
ये
Dressing to
last में
resemble a
बोलता है
girl.
क्या?
वो
I'm not
शेक्सपियर
reached
का
there yet.
मेंशन था. नहीं, शेक्सपियर का मेंशन था कि उसमें भाई बिकॉज
Yeah.
मेल्स प्लेड द फीमेल कैरेक्टर्स, तो उस वजह से
हाँ,
वो तो पुराना है काफी. तो
अच्छा, I
तो
have not
वन
reached
वन
there क्या अभी तक?
one question that I wanted to ask is मतलब कि and I have felt this पहले भी and after reading the book also ये सवाल आया मेरे दिमाग में कि मतलब how much again जैसे विश्वेश भाई ने भी बोला कि एक पूरी जनरेशन है जो अभी भी एक्सेप्ट नहीं करती है क्वेयरनेस को, गे पीपल एंड व्हाट नॉट. तो हाउ मच एक्सेप्टिंग लाइक पीपल इन जनरल जो अभी हम सब हैं यहाँ कितने हैं कि बिकॉज आई नो आई हैव हैड फ्रेंड्स तीन, नॉट इन इंडिया बट 3 साढ़े 3 साल में कनाडा में रहा हूँ. आई हैड गे फ्रेंड्स देयर. तो मतलब कि it is as a friend I found very easy to be accepting of my gay friends, but I often think कि what if someone in my family was of that sexual orientation, मेरा कोई sibling होता या कोई फ्यूचर में कोई भतीजा कोई भतीजी कोई ऐसे होगा, तो हाउ मच एक्सेप्टिंग वुड आई बी, मतलब कि क्या हम इतने, एंड अगेन दिस कुड बी जस्ट मी प्रॉब्लम, कि क्या हम उतने परिपक्व हो चुके हैं कि भी वी वुड इजीली एक्सेप्ट दैट, या अभी भी हम ओपन मतलब ऐसे ऊपर ऊपर से तो हाँ अच्छा कोई फ्रेंड है हमें हमारी लाइफ को ज्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ता, हाँ ठीक है गे है, लेकिन अपने परिवार में जब कुछ होगा तो वी माइट भी थोड़ा ऐसे अरे यार ये क्यों हमारे परिवार में क्यों ऐसा हो गया, या वी वोंट बी दैट. मतलब अगेन आई जस्ट वांट टू नो कि आप लोग वेयर डू यू स्टैंड इन ऑल ऑफ दिस, क्योंकि मुझे नहीं पता अगेन इफ समवन इन माय फैमिली वाज तो हाउ आई वुड react to it. Yeah, again I could be very accepting लेकिन अभी मुझे पता नहीं है because I haven't gone through it.
Yeah, so let me take that first because I have wondered about it. So I have a 7-year-old son, right? So when he was growing up in America, uh, it's obvious that in America, kids get curious even at that tender age also when they have their male friends and all that. And obviously he knows everything about this concept of even anyone can love anyone and all that. He knows everything about it. So when I ventured about it, yeah, thought about it a bit, I was not entirely comfortable. So full disclosure, ऐसे नहीं कि मतलब हाँ कि I was like कि जो भी होगा, हाँ, with a lot of thinking and a lot of reading and lot of exposure जो है, this thought of not being an hypocrite कि ऊपर से तो कुछ और बोल रहे हैं, then I obviously came to the conclusion कि it's fine. It's a very small thing that I'm stressing about. It's just if it happens also, it is just a part of his identity. But जब मैं सोच रहा था इसके बारे में, I was not at first comfortable. So हाँ, that is my answer. But हाँ, now with time, now he has grown up and now he will enter teenage and obviously he will be curious. Obviously he will want to experiment and whatnot. And with today's options and all that freedom that these guys have, we never know. But abhi I'm in a much more educated space, but not at first. Yeah, that's my answer.
My one finding some kind of a narrative and relative to this would be ki it's basically something that is going to take a long time. Because pehle like my parents' parents, right? Like my grandparents would not be okay with people marrying in different castes as well, right? But आज जब mom dad के generation में like all my cousins, all my first cousins, all have married out of the like they are not married to somebody who's a Shetty or who's from the caste, and they're married to people from the other caste, and the family has come to an acceptance, come to a realization that that's okay, that's understandable. So I think it's a generational like long journey that we have all got into and we are learning, because now with and I feel like a lot of the resemblance, and of course this comes from a very understanding aspect that I am from a very I'm in like the top 1% of in the sense of having comfort, in sense of the kind of society I am in. I'm in like the top 1%. So I am not even talking about what's happening in like the rural areas or the smaller towns in the country. I'm just talking from like a family that comes from good privilege, from good space, that we as a family also like I'm very much for this that I might be accepting and okay with having some brother of mine, a sister of mine, a niece, nephew, but I'm so sure I know at least 10 people who are like literally my mom, my dad, and family very close to me who will not be accepting of it. But what I've for sure seen in last 4 or 5 years, I give a lot of credit to content for that reason. That because there is a lot of conversation happening even at my home, like they're seeing, say they watched something, I don't know, I am not yeah, so we watch Kathal, so the whole family watched Kathal together, right? And so if there is a gay character or if there is like I can see the क्या बोलते हैं, एक sense of sympathy, नहीं, sense of sympathy and empathy that my parents are getting in that conversation and that topic from what it would have been 5-6 years ago or 4 years or 5 years ago. So I see that gradual change, but I'm very much telling you this is coming from a place ki we have no other problems to worry about. So that is why we are okay to have this discussion at home. I'm pretty sure that there are n number of houses in the country that don't have that discussion, but it comes from that space. But I have for sure, then I feel like over years that might also, like, it might also stop being a taboo thing as what intercaste marriages was about, say, 10-15 years back. At least like in our family, like I don't know any, like I know very few people in my parents' generation who got married to somebody outside the caste, but now in my generation there is, I know very few people who are like, who have sat down and done arranged marriages and in the same caste and stuff like that. So I think that, like, that change, those change might keep happening, but I see conversations starting to build up than what I saw about, say, 6 years or 5 years back. And at least in my house, it is mostly because of the content that we are continuously consuming. So that's where I feel we stand at.
True. Okay. Anyone else wants to weigh in? Otherwise, Phoenix is next. Phoenix के starting comments बचे हुए हैं अभी. Okay. Phoenix, go for it. शुरुआत से.
Okay. So आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ जी.
हाँ जी.
Okay. So first confession, I have heard the whole book as an audio. So मैंने पढ़ा नहीं है. So if anyone wants to judge me, please feel free to. But yeah, मैंने पूरा का पूरा सिर्फ सुना है, पढ़ा नहीं है. Also, like whatever opinions and understandings that I'm going to share, those are from before we started the call. So maybe the point that few people have brought up, maybe the target audience is a smaller age group. So some of my opinions might feel invalid or make not enough sense, but still I would like to share that. Now, coming back to the book, for me, the book felt very normal in the sense. And now that is, and it might be that because I was not looking, because even I went in totally blind into this book. And maybe it was not something that I was expecting it to be the way it is, but it's okay. I won't say like, I did not put down the book. I did not just pause it and get out of it. I completely went through the whole book because it is a light read. It can be read once. So yeah, but again, it felt just very normal. And I think it was just because I fell victim to my own expectations, because the audiobook is around 3 hours long. And by the time the first hour was completed, I thought that there is going, ये build up हो रहा है अभी तक से, and there are going to be a lot more inconveniences that they are going to face, a lot more dramatic situations that might come up, a lot more tensions might pop up, but nothing of that sort happened. Like you mentioned, 2 पेज में ही सब कुछ resolve हो रहा था. Because, and I think I had this expectation because with respect to this whole coming out and feeling accepted, there is this one particular video which I have watched some time back. So there is a person called Eugene who is from the Try Guys team. He has created a YouTube video of coming out and a whole detail. So मेरे दिमाग में तो वो उस तरीके की expectation थी, because those videos were very, very personal for Eugene, and the way he explained his side of story, the things that he has felt, the societal pressure that he has felt from his own family, because he comes from a Asian family, like और वहाँ पे तो बहुत कम होता है, where it is almost seen as a disease kind of, at least at that point when that video came out. So maybe if someone wants to give a watch, maybe you can go there. You might get what you are looking for. Another thing is जो इसमें एक part था where a few school friends they initially they made fun of our character, but later on they were like, oh, I'm sorry. It's like people who mock you, who put you down, who embarrass you, they don't come around apologizing back to you. That is something I can tell, and I think a lot of us will also agree to that. Also, वो जो so-called bullying वाला part था, उसको तो मैं accept ही नहीं कर रहा हूँ कि उसको bullying बोल सकते हैं, because वो जो चीज हुई है, उससे बुरी बुरी चीजें अपने स्कूल्स में रिसर्च में होती है, और वो बस होती हैं, तो उसको तो आई एम सॉरी समवन फील्स बैड, उससे मैं एक्सेप्ट ही नहीं कर रहा कि वो बुलिंग था, बट अगेन टोटली पर्सनल ओपिनियन अराउंड दैट. तो हाँ, एंड एज अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल हैव ऑलरेडी मेंशन कि वहाँ पे कुछ ऐसा बहुत ज्यादा टेंस सिचुएशन नहीं था, देयर वाज नॉट अ लॉट ऑफ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, तो या दैट इज ऑलरेडी एवरीवन हैज टॉक्ड अबाउट. इसके बाद में like we were also we had a point where why are we looking for grief everywhere? So now, although I accept that we should not go looking for grief everywhere, but also at the same time I also feel like grief and sadness is a lot more relatable across humanity, irrespective of what your identity is, irrespective of what your race is. It is a lot more relatable than maybe say a sense of accomplishment or success. बिकॉज लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर आप एक कॉम्पिटिशन हो, तो कॉम्पिटिशन में विनर हमेशा एक ही होगा, बाकी हर कोई लूजर होगा. लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल जैसे वर्ल्ड कप में होता, वर्ल्ड कप में जो इंडिया की लॉस का जो सैडनेस और जो ग्रीफ था, वो बिलियन को पीपल के दिलों में अभी. लेकिन ऑस्ट्रेलिया जो जीती है, उसकी खुशी एक बहुत ही छोटे पॉपुलेशन के पास है. तो आई थिंक मे बी वी लुक फॉर दीज थिंग्स बिकॉज इट इज अ लॉट मोर रिलेटेबल थ्रू आउट आवर लाइफ, and we are able to relate to that, and we do go into books, movies, shows looking for things that we can relate to. Maybe that is why we were looking for grief, for whoever was looking for that. So वो point वहाँ पे है around grief. Another thing which Diljit bhai just mentioned about like personal acceptance if someone comes out to you. So I think उस पे तो अभी there is a long road that we need to travel to reach there. Because I remember a particular scenario in my college. So we were doing auditions for the personality competition, जो जैसा college में होता है ना, like Mr. and Mrs. your college name. Like मेरा बिरला था, तो Mr. and Miss बिरला. So we were taking interviews. So one of the candidates, they were speaking, their topic of choice was acceptance for the LGBTQ community. So we heard all of that, and then we asked a counter question to that particular person. Ki, okay, now let's say today when you go back home, your brother comes to you and says, listen, I want to say something. I am gay and I want you to accept it. And how would you handle that particular situation? They took almost a minute or two long pause, and then they were like, and then they just broke down. Because इन चीजों के बारे में बात करना बहुत easy है, is what I feel. But actually accepting that, actually going through whatever that particular person who has come out to you is going through, to help them, उसके लिए जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग चाहिए आपको खुद को, जो एक एक्सेप्टेंस चाहिए, वो आप जो सोच रहे हो उससे बहुत आगे का है. Like at this point you will not even be able to think कि भाई ये एक्सेप्टेंस आप कब तक एक्सेप्टेंस में पहुंचे हो. लाइक okay, someone has come out to me, maybe a family member, and I'm like, okay, you're gay, okay. But again, they are then going to share their own things with you, like उनको क्या problems हो रही है, which are going to be way different for you, and all of this is going to be an unexplored territory for you, because this maybe is happening with you for the first time. तो आपके पास भी उसके लिए कोई counter नहीं होगा, कोई जवाब नहीं होगा. That time, how do you deal with that acceptance and comforting that particular person with the problems that they are facing? So I think ये तो एक बहुत लंबा जर्नी है, जो कभी ना कभी we'll reach there, but again, still a long journey. So yeah, these were my points.
Yes.
Thank
you very much. So Abhi, I mean, before we kind of talk about the points that Phoenix made, I think many people have not even started their comments. Yeah, I see Jigarjeet. Jigarjeet, you want to go next?
Yeah. So I didn't have any expectations from this book, and I enjoyed this book too much. Like I like this book so much, and like when you all said it's like a mediocre book and it's fine, like, but I had like no expectations for like conflict or resolve. It for me, it was like someone was telling me their life story, and I was sitting there and listening. And so it was like I wasn't expecting anything extraordinary happening or any extraordinary conflict or extraordinary resolve. And the book hooked me when there was like in the start, there's like this identity crisis of like I am not uh, a citizen of UK, I'm not a citizen of Jamaica, and I'm not like from like my mother's race. I don't remember his mother's race, but that hooked me like that. I related so hard because I feel after coming to USA and living here in USA, I'm not a like proper US citizen, and in India, I'm not a proper Indian.
Yes.
And that thing hooked me so like that I related so hard to that thing.
Yes.
So
Also,
that
kids,
thing hooked me so much.
yeah. But like you
Yeah,
were saying, also kids go through this a lot. But so my son doesn't understand. I mean, so he was 5 years there in USA, right? So that identity crisis, and for somebody who is an adult like us, उसके लिए भी बहुत मुश्किल
yeah,
हो. Yeah, agree there, and I think Pew is also gonna weigh in on that later. But yeah, go for it.
yeah. And the other thing, the queer thing and the coming out thing and like everything else, I was I regularly listen to like queer and talk to like different kind of people, and I've talked to like a lot of bunch of gay people, queer people, and I think his story I think his story was about him and how he went through it. I didn't compare it to like being like extra like it was it hard or was it like not hard or anything like that, but I think कि जो whatever happened with him was very like very uniquely interesting and very uniquely like his story, and I enjoyed that story a lot. And um, other thing, like I didn't know much about drag, and I learned a lot about drag from this story. And what else? Like this is a and that's all like my hook on this book was like the first identity crisis, and then I was like, yeah, I'm into your story, whatever you say, and I'm good with it. Now you have hooked me with that, and now I'm listening to it, and I'm going to be with there until the book ends.
Yeah.
And for me it was a short book, and it's rarely that I enjoy like this short books, like so many like so short, like 4 hours is like very short. I'm I like to listen to like a 40-hour book. That's what like my main enjoyment is. It's very rare that I find enjoyment in like a 4 hour or like a 3 hour book. So it's rare that I've like these kinds of books. That's all I had to say about this book for now.
Thank you, Jagarjeet bhai. Thank you. Nice. बहुत ही varied perspectives, huh? So अभी I can see many people who have joined in. Anybody who joined in wants to speak, has read the book, wants to share, or you might be here just for the vibes or silent listening. Okay, Chavi, you want to speak again? Go for it. Chavi.
No, what are we discussing? Like which part?
Now, मतलब starting comments सबके almost हो गए हैं. I think Anmol has not spoken. We can go to Anmol. Is Anmol there?
I think वो
Yeah,
away था.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
He was
yeah.
away, हाँ आ गए वो.
so yeah. So basically, Anmol, before you start. So yeah, Chavi. So basically, after I mean, I think you dropped off for a bit. So Phoenix spoke and Diljit spoke, and Diljit had some questions. So one of the question was that Diljit wanted to ask the panel was that if you kind of find out that somebody around you is queer, so would you be like the same, kind of empathy you will show, or it's like, have you questioned yourself on that hypocrisy that might be there? So everybody answered about that, and so uska extension chal raha tha.
हाँ, तो ये क्वेश्चन का मुझे आंसर देना था.
विशेष भाई
Yeah,
बोलो.
yeah.
हाँ, तो probably I am open enough to accept LGBTQ plus people around me, not mature enough to accept my son coming out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm part of the sandwich generation.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. Fair enough.
तो वही है कि मतलब दूसरे के घर में हो तो आई एम रेडी टू एक्सेप्ट, मेरे घर में हो तो थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा. आई मीन आई वोंट डिस्कार्ड completely, but obviously it would be a battle which I have to fight and win.
Yes, because what else there is, when what is the option? You can't.
Correct.
Yeah,
but it would definitely be a battle.
Yes, truthfully spoken. Yeah, so different people had different answers for somebody who has joined right now, and I will just repeat that. I just said that I also had my doubts, and I have wondered about it, that what if my son comes out to me? So same exactly what Vishay said, that it will be something that I will have to accept. It will not be immediately that will come to me, not naturally to me. And yeah, I can just say that, I will be completely okay, but then I would be lying. Yeah, that's my truth also.
Yeah, that I get it also. Like it's very tough because more than the I don't think it's the problem for parents is that, oh, they like, if since you have sons, I'll say like, oh, they like guys. I don't think that is the problem. The problem is that you have a definitive idea of what your child's life would be.
Correct.
And how you fit into that life, and then you're like, oh yeah, well, okay, there's no marriage now. Or wait, I don't get to have that conversation about girlfriends. Oh, I don't get to have that. So I get that as a loss completely also for a lot of people. And I mean,
actually it is
also
Shavi, loss hai, and the other thing to think about is ki it's not just a matter of getting uncomfortable with it. It is probably also a matter of parents. As a parents, you are protective about your kid. You're very protective about your kid, right? That is given you. How your moms are protective about you, so they can see that your life is going to be uncomfortable. It is going. That's a fact.
Correct.
Uncomfortable.
Correct.
And that is probably something that is really eating. Like you don't want to. You want to protect your child, right?
They don't.
आंख बंद करके विश करते हैं कि प्लीज ये प्रॉब्लम कहीं हो जाए, नॉट सो दैट इज व्हाट आई थिंक विश्वेश and Nikhil are talking about.
Exactly. It is about what the society will think.
And it's also about, see, हम लोग अभी mentally prepared है कि we want to live a independent life and raise kids who are independently capable of taking their own decisions. Our parents are not. Our parents हमें पाल पोस के बड़ा इसीलिए किया है कि they could be dependent on us.
Correct.
Right? And they are not only dependent financially and otherwise, but also emotionally. And that is the most draining part where we have to fight both the battles.
Yes.
तो मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ा conflict यही होगा कि how would, see, for me, it's one thing about me accepting my son, and it's another thing about my loved ones accepting my son as is. And that's where the biggest battle is. And वो बहुत मुश्किल है लड़ाई.
नहीं, and also just to draw some parallel, sorry to interrupt, एक मुझे इसको closing thought दे रहा था, just drawing a parallel, right? Not comparing, drawing a parallel, कि this is a conversation we are having today in our generation, whereas Eklavya mentioned, उसको फैमिली में कोई 2 बार सोचता भी नहीं है कि वो एक शेट्टी से शादी नहीं कर रहा है, right? Take it back.
Caste also. Yeah, correct.
Take it back 20 years when our parents were getting married. It was a big deal not getting married, right? So that was their conversation. कि तुम एक कश्मीरी से कैसे, I'm just giving my example, right? So तो कश्मीरी से कैसे शादी कर रहे हो, right? That is outside your caste. That is outside. You are not a Kashmiri. You're marrying a Kashmiri. You're marrying outside your thing, right? So that was a big battle. to get that done. Now,
अरे
that is
छोटी
very
से
normal
छोटी
today.
चीज आज भी मतलब even when everybody is educated, some of my relatives are not even staying in India, staying outside, they are still ridiculing us कि अरे तुम्हारा लड़का BA करेगा या BSc करेगा.
हाँ.
तो
So these
मतलब ये लेवल तक एक्सेप्टेंस का इशू है, राइट? फाइट है. माय फादर इज स्टिल नॉट रेडी टू एक्सेप्ट कि भाई ये इंजीनियर नहीं बन रहा है मेरा पोता.
I
और
think
वो
we
तो
are
I
all
think
so stuck
every
up in
generation
being a
evolves.
part of something. I mean, we always want to be accepted, right? हमारी story सबके साथ हम सबको relate करना चाहते हैं. We don't want to stand out. So I think that is also a reason where, you know, unfamiliar
मोर देन
territory हो जाती है या कुछ.
स्टैंड आउट इंडिपेंडेंस का ही इशू है ना कि भाई
Yeah,
उनको
I
जो
think
करना है करने दो.
I think they prefer stability over independence. कि पहले
हाँ.
stable हो जाओ, normalcy. There is a idea of a normalcy that they have been taught, and that is what they want to propagate in the further generation.
मतलब मतलब मेरी साली शिकागो में रहती है and her daughter is of the same age of my son. She is interested in doing medical. उसको बैकअप कंप्यूटर इंजीनियरिंग हो इसीलिए उसको दोनों करवा रहे हैं क्योंकि भाई कंप्यूटर
Medical
इंजीनियरिंग में
का
नौकरी तो मिल जाएगी. नौकरी तो मिल
PCM
जाएगी.
भी taken to
मेडिकल
next level.
हाँ मतलब नौकरी तो मिल जाएगी भाई. कुछ तो हो जाएगा करियर. अगर डॉक्टर नहीं बन पाए तो क्या.
Parents
तो
के
I
केस
mean,
में
the point of
deviation
being
from the
a black
normal.
flamingo again, you know. I mean,
Uh,
the whole story was about a black flamingo, right? So nobody wants to be a black flamingo. Everybody wants to be that pink flamingo. That is where it stands.
एग्जैक्टली.
आज हमारे घर में अगर पहले के जमाने की बात करें, अरे उनकी बेटी तो किसी और से शादी करके भाग गई, would have been such a taboo because बाकियों के घर में कोई भाग के शादी नहीं कर रहा है या किस कास्ट के बाहर शादी नहीं कर रहा है. So you don't want to be that black flamingo, I think.
Yeah, true.
I have like
I
a
also
question.
wanted to.
हाँ नहीं आप बोलो पहले.
No, I also wanted to quickly add. So I have not had an interaction with grandparents, but at least, and I don't have kids on my own. So I'm specifically talking about us, our relationship with our parents. हमारे पेरेंट्स के जनरेशन में देखो कितना अपडेट्स आया है लाइफ में, है ना. लाइक हम लोग सिंपल व्हाट्सएप अपडेट कुछ आ जाता है हम पागल हो जाते हैं कि लाइक समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है कैसे कुछ करना है, व्हाटएवर, राइट. सो इमेजिन फ्रॉम देयर पर्सपेक्टिव कि उनके लाइफ टाइम में कितने चेंजेस आए हैं. So we should have some empathy towards the fact that our parents have to learn a lot. But at the same time, I think it really helps if we also try and have that conversation with them, about these things. And I actually had that conversation. Like, मुझे ना बहुत चुल मचती है कि like मैं जाके बहुत उंगली करती हूँ अपने parents को. Like, it started with a lot of things, but in recent years, like, having beef, for example, was like a difficult conversation with them to have about. And I actually talked about them about LGBTQIA community and what it means, and just the basic thing ki, like sexuality and gender identity are very natural things. मैंने जिम्मा लिया to, have that conversation with parents. And, a lot of times maybe your parents are getting exposure to things by like, reading things online or maybe watching like a film or show or whatever. But maybe someone needs to break it down for them. So us way se it helps normalize things also if we take up the responsibility to and like have that conversation with our parents.
उतना EQ भी तो होना चाहिए पेरेंट्स का.
यार मेरी बहन आके यहाँ पे ऐसा बोल के जाती है और मैं बोलता हूँ थोड़ा रोल बैक कर, मुझे संभालना पड़ता है साथ में. वो पूरा आग लगा के जाती है.
It's very real.
हाँ, my every trip back home is आग लगाना only essentially. So
what happens
See,
is
every time we go to गाँव ऐसा, and वहां पे तो इतने backward views मिलेंगे ना. और it starts with मोटा पतला conversation is तू मोटा हुआ है, तू पतला हुआ है. This starts with वहां से. ये तो हो रहा था सबको, वही रहता है. मेरी बहन उस पे इतना भड़की, मैं बोला कि थोड़ा बैक यहाँ पे आग नहीं लगा था. Like I shouldn't be the one who is like a resistor for her current to flow, but
तो उल्टा भी
I'm also
करना सुमित.
frustrated.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, if not us, who will tell our parents, right? Like,
नहीं यार, we are fire and ice that way, and I try to control the situation whenever.
ये वो elder son, elder sibling issue.
वो आती है, बोलती है ऐसा कैसे बोला इन्होंने मेरे को, ऐसा मुंह पे बोलती है लोगों के. मैं बोलता ठीक है बाद में.
क्योंकि उनके जूम कॉल पे तो सिर्फ मोदी की बात हो रही है ना, तो उनको
हाँ,
कोई नहीं है बात करने की, राइट? तो या बट यार इट्स अ गुड पॉइंट. मैंने भी कभी ये कॉन्वर्सेशन करने की कोशिश की, मैंने अज्यूम कर लिया कि ये तो बड़े बच्चे हैं, इनको तो पता ही होगा सब, मतलब. पर या मतलब प्रोबेबली दे डोंट हैव एनी आउटलेट जिनसे वो बात कर पाए. व्हाट्सएप पे वही घटिया से उनके पास फॉरवर्ड आते होंगे आई गेस, जाग
Yeah.
जाइए आपका बेटा भी तो ये नहीं कर रहा, ऐसे टाइप के जो आते हैं. तो या
So
But
actually,
just
Nikhil,
a
like,
quick
also
point
again,
to
like,
yeah.
parents कैसे हो सकता है, right? Like, my dad is, I guess, more rigid about these things. He doesn't want to change, doesn't even want to think about it. But my mom had questions for me, which I felt like was a good sign, you know, like,
Exactly,
तुम
yeah.
बात करके तो देखो, फिर maybe, you know, you never know. हमारे parents can also surprise us sometimes.
True.
Yeah, which is what happened. Sorry, but which is what happened when I was talking to my mom about it. Because she got curious because her cousin's daughter came out to her family, and this is after she was done with college. She was working for a while, and then because she was staying in a different city, she was living in with her partner, and you know, they always thought that she's living with a friend, and they were not aware of it. So when she did come out to them, it was a shock for them, and they sort of, you know, stopped going for family functions. It's not like they told others about it, but in a way, I think they started feeling like they can't answer the questions anymore. कि बेटी की शादी कब हो रही है, you know, those kinds of things. So and their son was already married, so the constant questions were bothering them a lot, and they actually stopped going for functions. So that is how it affected them, and my mom saw this, and when she did you know, talk to her parents, she felt very bad, and when she came home, she spoke to my brother and me about it, and she was genuinely concerned and saying that you know, we thought the worst thing that can happen is that your child will have a love marriage, but ये तो उसके भी आगे चला गया है. अब you know, ये तो syllabus में ही नहीं है, तो ये हम इससे हम कैसे deal करें? And that is when we started talking about these things, and that is when she started understanding or even considering this as something that is a way of life. So I just wanted to make that quick point, but like Nikhil was saying, people who haven't spoken up till now should chime in.
Yeah. So I think Anmol has definitely read the book, I think. Anmol, you want to go next?
Yeah, Nikhil, I can. So, yeah, I think there are perils of going so, you know, towards the end because so much has already been discussed and said. But like Phoenix, I'll also like just first share what I felt about the book. Rather, I would want to talk a little bit more about the after effects of the book, what it actually did to me. So, keeping the book wala thing short, again, as you know, I've been in that reading slump, and this was my first audiobook ever. So this was breezy. This was good because, you know, it, as I said, it felt like somebody sitting across me. We are sitting over drinks, and he's just narrating his life story to me, sitting down there, and just like, you know, two friends are talking. Oh, I texted this person. This happened. I thought about this. This happened. You know, it felt like that. So And at the end of it, I felt like wanting more of it. Like after the whole drag performance, also I felt okay, this will go a little bit further. That was there, but as I said, yes, it has been said a lot was not felt emotionally for the characters, maybe because he was coming from a privilege and all that. But now that all the conversation happened, I think him coming from a privilege was not his fault, right? It's like that whole nepotism debate we have and everything. But within that privilege, that was his biggest challenge, right? मतलब in that privilege, उसके लिए तो ये सबसे बड़ा, that was an issue. He was dealing with it. So we have to assume that, like, it's like you might think that the other person, oh, he's from a business family, he has all the money and all, but you don't know in his life that problem or some problem might be big for him. That's his challenge, right? So, and we need to give that benefit of doubt there. Okay, fine, even if he had the privilege. The second thing I liked about the character was he was accepting of the apologies. Like, he did not hold a grudge. Like, he kind of, whenever somebody came back, apologized. I think he accepted an apology and he actually kind of meant it, that, you know, that I've forgiven that person. I think that's the, and he realized that a lot of time the other person is projecting their own fears and inhibitions on you. You know, you don't realize they are dealing with so many things in their own personal life and they're taking it out on you. So I think that was good. As otherwise all discussed, yes, it did not delve deep into the topic and it was not like it showed a lot of struggles. They touched on a lot of things, but didn't go there like with the whole first dating app thing and everything. But I want to actually talk about what what effects it had on me. So I'll be very honest here. I am personally not comfortable even today, like when there's a scene on TV, like maybe showing two guys kissing each other. I'm not comfortable still. I'm being very honest, right? So it, and I don't know what will make me comfortable. Like even if there is a scene or any movie or that sort, I am like I would want to switch that. I don't want to watch that. I'm not very comfortable with that idea. Then the other thing I was thinking was that how casually, and I'm taking this in the Indian context of things, like I feel that the the Western countries are a little bit much more mature and ahead of us in these discussions and these thoughts, whereas where it comes to the Indian society and the education system and everything, like I was just thinking like how casually sometimes we still use the word gay as a abuse. You know, if there is a guy showing a little bit of a feminine side, or emotion. I mean, we were taught that way that the men should not show emotion, that kind of a thing. So even today, like if let's say somebody is showing that in school or something, and there is that in, we go like, "Are gay hai kya tu?" That kind of thing. It is still being used as a derogatory thing because we are not taught about it, right? We have still not reached that point to be made aware of all this. Like even let's sex education has not properly been taught in schools. This is to even a step further away, you know. So I felt that, like, I got to know recently from a friend, like he's not, of that orientation, but he has hung out with a lot of them. He has a lot of friends. He actually told me there are underground bars within Delhi which actually cater to that market. I mean, so and I didn't know about this, that, oh, there are really designated places here as well about it, Maybe, and now that I think of it, being in a metropolitan city, again, things might be a little better here. But I don't even want to know what things or how it will be perceived in the, smaller towns. And then I started thinking about the movie Aligarh, the Manoj Vajpayee movie. So also, it was more like the book actually helped me think about myself. And I know a lot has been discussed here about how will how will your parents react? How will you react? So I don't know how will my time comes to, like, if my kid or something does it, I really don't know how I will. But now I also want to give a benefit of doubt to the parents. Like what I was thinking is like, and I remember on one call, Nikhil, Ashwara, Diljit, all of us were there and told you guys that maybe my parents, they'll be open to love marriage, but they had that one criteria. Okay, you don't want, we are still not open to a Muslim girl, let's say.
Anji.
I think, like as somebody just now said, you need to take in the parents' point of view also. Like I think Manu said that you need to be aware of how much they are learning, but they are also thinking, I feel, from that point of view, ki what the society will do to you, like what is the added pressures that you have to go through as a society. So they are somewhere or the other looking out to you, looking out for you, sorry, but it can come across as insensitive. I understand that. And we can come across as insensitive. I also realize that, like, even let's say if I meet a gay person, right, or somebody, I am trying to be, you sometimes tend to ask certain things. You don't realize that is also a normal person, but you'll be inquisitive, like, oh, how does it work in your case? And it might just be that, bhai, unke case mein bhi same tarah se cheez work karti hai, but you sometimes tend to be insensitive and ask it in such a way that you make them feel that you are a different person. Things work out differently. So I felt that book helped me to be a little bit reflective. I'm not saying today I have changed completely as a person and I can go and watch it on television. These conversations helped me, but yeah, it did I did think about it that okay, I might just go ahead and be a little bit more thoughtful going ahead if I come across something, or if I do come across some person and I talk to them. So that is I would that was my big takeaway from the book, that it helped me introspect somewhere or the other.
Yep. Beautiful. Yeah. I think at least this book did something. I can see hands raised. Ash, you want to go next? Then it's Diljit, then Jigarjeet, then Eklavya.
I just wanted to make a quick point. Like Anmol ne jo bola na ki people start like he started wondering about it and we were not educated. So yeah, that is the point, right? Of reading, of exposing ourselves to start questioning things, to just get familiarized, start questioning our ideas. Do they hold true? क्या हम गलत सोच रहे हैं, मतलब गलत सही से ज्यादा what more exists on this earth, right? So बहुत ज्यादा वैसे बोल दिया ब्रांड, but basically just start questioning ourselves and getting used to it, learning more. The more you learn about it, the more you expose yourself to it, तुम्हारे को अब it will become second nature. You don't even like, again जैसे तुमने कहा ना, it is very normal. कोई पूछेगा भी नहीं कि तुम किसी से शादी कर रहे हो, वो as long, whatever the criteria is, whatever it is, it becomes normal. The idea behind everything is to normalize it, right? Ultimately, again, it's a journey. वो तुम जितना पढ़ोगे, जितना expose होगे, जितना लोगों से बात करोगे which is different, you'll become very normal. It's nothing, that's all I was saying. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so to try to constantly improve your own belief system. I mean, the willingness to do that. So yeah. Next up, Diljit, आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे थे काफी टाइम से. I think वो पिछले डिस्कशन के संदर्भ में कुछ है. बढ़िया, go for it.
हाँ नहीं, आई वाज मेरे व्हेन द डिस्कशन स्टार्ट मेरे को दो चीजें हिट करी थी. एक तो मैंने बोल दी थी व्हेन माइकी कट हिज हेयर. द सेकंड थिंग दैट आई रियली फेल्ट व्हेन दे, और काफी ब्रीफली बात की थी, बट व्हेन दे टॉक्ड अबाउट फेटिशाइजेशन ऑफ एन एंटायर रेस, की the girl that they were going out in the bar with, I only date black boys, and then Mikey says I am only thought of dating white guys. तो like जब मैं जवान था, there was a phase when I sort of always thought कि the Asian girls, जिन्हें हम जैसे East Asian girls, the Chinese, the Korean, the Japanese, की these are the most attractive girls of all, है ना. मेरा ऐसे ही शुरू से अगेन, तो मतलब बहुत टाइम तक, 1-2 साल तक ऐसा था कि अरे नहीं, मतलब ये लड़कियां सबसे बेहतर हैं दिखने में. श्योर देयर आर ब्यूटीफुल गर्ल्स इन ऑल द रेसेस, बट ये लड़कियां थोड़ी ज्यादा बेहतर हैं. एंड देन आई थिंक देयर वाज अ ब्लैक फ्रेंड हु आस्क्ड मी, अच्छा दिलजीत, मतलब मेरे को ये बता, डू यू लाइक पिटीट गर्ल्स? एंड एंड आई एम थिंकिंग, मैंने कहा नहीं ऐसा तो नहीं है. अच्छा तो डू यू लाइक गर्ल्स विद शॉर्ट, मतलब स्मॉल आईज? मैंने कहा ऐसा भी नहीं है. एंड देन आई वेंट इनटू थोड़ा रिफ्लेक्शन की व्हाट इज इट अबाउट द होल, ऐसे द ईस्ट, द ओरिएंटल रेस, द ईस्ट एशियन गर्ल्स, जो मैं मतलब जो, एंड देन आई हैड टू थिंक कि आई माइट think कि I am sort of admiring their race या जो भी, but I am actually fetishizing, क्योंकि I am probably going after some physical aspect of their appearance जो मुझे भा रही है. And then I had to think back कि how that is wrong in, कि you might think कि ऐसा तुम सही कर रहे हो, like जैसे बुक में भी बोलते हैं कि you might seem like an anti-racist person if you're a white person and you only date black people, है ना. but that is also wrong in on other levels. तो
Yeah, yeah,
उसके बारे में I wanted to know कि what the panel thinks about it,
yeah. So yeah, also as a boy, ये बहुत casually कर देते हैं हम. मतलब I don't know, जो the conversations that happen in the locker room and all that, तो वो धीरे धीरे समझना पड़ता है कि नहीं ऐसे this is not okay. Yeah, I'll take that question to the panel, पर उसके पहले ना I can see Jigarjeet wants to say something.
हाँ जी.
Yeah, so I was thinking about the question asked before, like, would you accept someone in your family? And I was like, yes, but I would be afraid for them
Yeah.
because recently I had this experience. I went back to India and something happened, and there was a conflict in morals with my brother and one of my closest friends. And I realized that how different my thinking is to them, like how much of a difference the me and my brother and the guy from Australia has in thinking. And it at at this conflict, at the end we had to it took like 2 or 3 days of like aggressive conversation and being mad at each other. And at the end they at the end the resolution was agree to disagree. I tried and like tried my hardest to change their mind about something like I think that's very bad, but it's not related to like it's just like general Indian things. And at the end I tried my best like why this is bad and why you shouldn't condone this. But at the end, whatever I tried, the conflict was resolved to agree to disagree. And that hit me so hard ki how big of a difference in thinking I have with my like closest friends in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you reach a dead
So
end even with people who you like, yeah, ये तो मेरा ही photocopy है. But you reach a dead end in certain things. No, can't agree. Yeah.
yeah, so it was like I was like, yes, I can accept you, but I don't know if the rest of the family, like I would be really, really afraid for them.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question on
Because
that, Jagadish, and to the panel. Like, when do you, and this happens, okay? Like, I can relate कि कोई एक friend कि सब कुछ सही है, but there is one point about them that you completely don't like. But where is that where you, and they're where you're like closest friends, let's say, like the closest of friends. Where is that line that you draw कि now it's time to end this maybe friendship or something? Because see, at the end of the day, there might be something about you also that they are also accepting.
Correct.
So I don't know, like this is a question maybe to everyone, that this is where maybe you draw, and maybe it is situation to situation, not easy to generalize this way, but is that like either you become accepting or you ignore that part, or there is a conversation you have, or you just like you just end that friendship?
what I did in the situation was like I like the person I'm talking about is like he is too confident in his thinking. There needs something needs to happen where he needs to doubt himself.
Yeah.
And I can't create that doubt.
No,
Some
just
life
you have to be
experience
just
needs to
open.
happen.
You
Yeah,
have to be
exactly.
open to the idea that you are wrong about something. You might be
Yeah.
wrong about something, but that is
Yeah,
not the case
but
always.
yeah, this is like they are not accepting that they could be wrong about thinking about something.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
they believe everything that they think. मतलब
yeah, that
मेरे
they
brain ने
believe too
बताया.
strongly whatever they think. And like the younger brother, I discussed with him, like I was like, what would need to happen for him to change? I'm like, all I could come up was like something needs to happen to him, like very hard thing needs to happen with him, and I don't want that to happen to him.
Yeah.
Like I love him so much that I don't want him to go to that hardship.
बेसिकली उसके स्टोरी में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चाहिए आपको.
हाँ मुझे पता.
Like that's how a person grows, but I don't want that kind of conflict
कैरेक्टर
for
डेवलपमेंट
him
चाहिए.
to go through.
Yeah.
विलन आर्क उसके बाद ही आएगा.
बट
So
ये
that's my take on
ये
this.
होता है जिगरजीत. आई थिंक what we need to understand is every person is limited to his or her own experiences, right? तो उनको अगर वो experiences और exposure ही नहीं है, and ऐसे काफी incidences हमारे साथ भी, मेरे साथ तो बहुत बार हुआ है, मेरे लड़के के साथ भी. तो मतलब when my son first time went to a anath ashram, right, via school, and they did some activities there, he was like, I cannot relate with those kids, right? Because although I can, the only see, हमने उसको पूछा कि तुम्हें क्या लगा, कैसे लगा, तो वो बोला the only thing I can think of is pity, and I know internally that is not the right emotion I should have about them, because they are not looking for pity. बट वो बोला मैं रिलेट ही नहीं कर पा रहा, क्योंकि मेरे लाइफ में ये सिचुएशन ही नहीं है, मुझे एक्सपीरियंस ही नहीं है. मुझे 2 वक्त का खाना नहीं मिलना, ये आज तक कभी हुआ ही नहीं है. तो आई कैन नॉट रियली पुट माई सेल्फ इन देयर शूज एंड थिंक कि बॉस कोई बाहर से आके तुम्हारे साथ एक्टिविटीज कर रहा है, तुम्हारे साथ बर्थडे सेलिब्रेट कर रहा है, तो उसके सो व्हाट दे एक्चुअली लुक. तो उसने नेक्स्ट टाइम जब वो गया तो उसने वो बच्चों को पूछा, तो वो बोले यार जितने बर्थडेज होते हैं हम तो केक भी नहीं खाते, हम सब फेंक देते हैं, क्योंकि हम पक गए ये बर्थडेज जो लोग आके हमारे साथ सेलिब्रेट करते हैं उससे. बिकॉज वी ऑल्सो नो कि साल का आउट ऑफ 365 days आई एम जस्ट गिविंग देम इम्पोर्टेंस फॉर 1 day, that too
Yeah.
for satisfying my own ego.
Selfish
Not
endeavor
really
थोड़ा.
because I
Yeah.
हाँ, not really because, and most of the social work is, तो उसके बाद वो social work rabbit hole में चला गया. He read couple of books on social work philosophy और ये वो सब कुछ, but the entire ecosystem is based on social work. लोग क्यों करते हैं? To satisfy their own ego. It's not because they care most of the time. So
And I have
ये वही होता है कि पर्सन के एक्सपीरियंसेस, उसका अपब्रिंगिंग, उसका बैकग्राउंड, एनवायरनमेंट, इससे उसका बिलीफ सिस्टम तैयार होता है. एंड इफ यू वांट योर फ्रेंड टू एक्सेप्ट समथिंग आउटसाइड ऑफ दैट बिलीफ सिस्टम, आउटसाइड ऑफ दैट वर्ल्ड, देन दो ही ऑप्शंस है. या तो उसका मैच्योरिटी इतना होना चाहिए, उसका एक्सपोजर इतना बढ़ना चाहिए, उसने ये सारी चीजें पढ़नी चाहिए, ताकि उसका जो व्हाट आई वुड से, अब उसके लिए इंग्लिश वर्ड मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा है, मराठी में वर्ड मुझे पता है, बट उसका उतना मतलब नॉलेज बेस अगर उतना बढ़ा, मतलब अभी व्यासंग को इंग्लिश में क्या बोलते हैं मुझे पता नहीं.
मुझे भी नहीं पता. ओके नेक्स्ट.
That's a good question.
क्या बोलते हैं यार?
हाँ बोलते हैं यार, I'm not actually thinking. I'll
Sir,
get back to
events
you.
नहीं.
नहीं व्यासंग it's Lathora. नहीं Lathora नहीं. Lathora comes close, but let's discuss it after.
काइंड ऑफ, हाँ वो बाद में
हाँ,
देखते हैं, बट
बाद में
उसका
बात
उतना
करते
वो
हैं.
स्कोप बढ़ना चाहिए टू अंडरस्टैंड द वर्ल्ड, राइट? तो वो जब
Yeah.
तक उसका स्कोप बढ़ेगा नहीं, वो आपको अंडरस्टैंड नहीं कर पाएगा.
From what
तो
I'm understanding
इंस्टेड
as
ऑफ
well,
टारगेटिंग द एक्चुअल प्रॉब्लम, what you should probably work towards is expanding his scope, his world, his view about the world. तो उसके ऊपर अगर आपने काम किया तो शायद उसको ये बात अपने आप समझ में आ जाएगी, फिर आपको वो एक्सप्लिसिटली समझाने की या उसके लाइफ में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट तैयार करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी.
to this point Vishesh, so I think मतलब जैसे बोल रहे हैं ना दो चीज, so are you saying कि मतलब, and this is what I think, मतलब मुझे ऐसा लगे, I think as well, या तो वो खुद एक्सपीरियंस करे उस, मतलब he goes through an experience where he, you know, तुम्हारा family and somebody very close, or second you are able to empathize with the situation, right? The ability to empathize कि जैसे आपके for example सिफर जाके पूछा, he understood and he was empathizing कि इनकी problem क्या है, what, so that is empathy, right? That is, I think, is a very important, जो EQ आप पहले बोल रहे थे कि तुम्हारा क्या बोलते हैं empathy क्या है, that will help the person just put themselves in the other shoes, because it is very difficult for everybody to kind of go through or meet people through all of
essentially so the
books
main
पढ़ने तो वही
activities हाँ main activity यही था कि भाई am I so obviously the question which later on my son kept asking me, am I doing something to get them out of there because that's what they want.
एग्जैक्टली एंड
तो
अनमोल
वो
जो
तो
तुम
मैं नहीं
पहले
कर रहा
पूछ
हूँ
रहे थे ना, हाँ सही समझा, वो बर्थडे केक खा के तो वो नहीं हेल्प हो रही है, राइट? एंड अनमोल
Yeah,
व्हाट
I
योर
have another
क्वेश्चन
thing to share. I have
बोलिए।
another thing to share. So this is very like when Amir Khan was hosting that one show where like he showed like story like
Satyam is
unique
Jayat.
story of
सत्यमेव
like
जयते।
Satyam Jayata, yeah. So there was this story about like how like a lower caste guy married a higher caste girl, and there was this whole story he was telling about and how there was a lot of conflict and all that. And in midst of that, it was me, mom, my elder sister, and my cousin sister. We all were sitting, my mom, dad, we all were sitting. And they were like, they were happy with the story and they were enjoying the story. And then my cousin sister put a question to them that if I married a person from a different religion, would you accept that? And both my mom and dad were like, no, at like within a second. And I was like I didn't think anything of that at that point, but now I remember that uh, incident, and I'm like there's like they're not taking what he's telling. They're watching it as an entertainment show.
Correct.
And I see this so much within like within around me that they watch everything, but they watch it everything as an entertainment, not to take something out of it. And it bugs me so much.
Yeah, everything is escapism.
Yeah, that's all I want to say.
इसलिए तो बॉलीवुड में लव स्टोरीज चलते हैं बट रियल लाइफ में नहीं। लव मैरिजेस चाहिए बट बॉलीवुड में, घर पे नहीं।
True. True. सुमित, तुम्हारा भी हाथ, आई थिंक यू रेज्ड हैंड, डिड यू वांट टू?
एकलव्य का बहुत देर से है
हाँ मेरा बात, आई फॉरगॉट माय पॉइंट। एकलव्य तुझा।
अच्छा, गो फॉर इट।
मेरा तो पॉइंट कम्स फ्रॉम जो लाइक आई थिंक द कॉन्वर्सेशन जो मनो ने शुरू किया था, आई जस्ट वांटेड टू ऐड इट, प्रोवाइडिंग अ पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ माइंड. So like till 2018 2019 I used to not stay at home a lot. I used to keep traveling, college, work, उसके हिसाब से. तो जब भी मैं घर आता था, and me and my parents have very polar opposite views in politics, in like generally in life as well, in a lot of aspects of life as well, in that sense, right? So what I just made up my mind is कि boss इनको like there is no way I can communicate this to them. So there is no need, because there used to be constant fights if something comes up, some conversation comes up. It used to just extend to and lead to fights, right? But what happened is that COVID happened, and because of which hum log, like we were stuck in the house for a long duration of time, and I was also stuck in the space for a long. And when that happened, I think that helped me bring a lot more empathy and sympathy into the conversation and into my like being with them, where I started realizing कि बॉस उनको एक चीज उन्होंने 50-60 साल से समझा है और सीखा है, और सडनली आज हमने उठ के बोल दिया कि नहीं बॉस ये जो तुमने सोचा वो गलत है, कल से चेंज करो, will not happen. And when I had that switch in mind and my conversation with them in having like say very small things, right, like कि कुछ भी बड़ा चीज हो या कुछ भी छोटा चीज हो, जैसे कि इवन फॉर दैट मैटर लाइक we're kissing on this, right?
Eklavya,
Can
you are
you?
breaking up. Is it just for me?
Yeah, I
No, he's
think I
breaking.
was gone.
Okay, all good, all good, all
I
good.
should be back.
Yeah.
तो उस हिसाब से तो when that happened, what I came to realize is my parents, like mom, dad, both were started understanding and maybe also understand. Like my mother making a lot more, like her, like she's, I see her taking steps on the screen, or there is a gay character on a character.
कुछ सुनाई नहीं दे, मुझे तो नहीं दे रहा।
एकलव्य इंटरनेट पे
बीच बीच
प्रॉब्लम है।
में ब्रेक हो रहा है एकलव्य।
Break कर रहा है कह रहे हैं।
We'll wait
Yeah.
for Eklavya to join back for, you know.
Is this
अभी
better
आवाज
now?
नहीं आ रही?
Yeah, now I think एक बार बोलो तो कुछ एकलव्य अभी।
So I was just saying कि
Yeah.
when that sympathy aspect came into the picture, and when I realized कि boss, just like being blunt about it is not the way to approach it, and then just helping them understand, and also me understanding their perspectives, right? Especially like be it be politics, be it be any of those aspects, right? So today, while they are celebrating the aspect of the w- the big facade with and the celebrations with the Ram Mandir thing happening, and I might have a quite a different view about it. I have come to realize that they have their opinions and they're entitled to have those, and there it is not it is not me who has to make that change just because I think my opinions are what matter to me. What I've come to realize is has to be a sense of understanding, but of them understand what the newer world of sorts is looking at is also what my job and my perspective or role is. So like just to give you an example, and I see, and because I toned down my way of dealing and managing that situation, I saw my parents also dealing and managing the situation better. Because what happened was like I saw my mother making very small change. Like before, if there was a gay character on a particular show, she would just blurt, "Oh, he's the gay," is
Yeah.
something that would come out, right? And then I said, Ma, maybe we don't say it that way. We say it like easy gay is a question that we can, instead of putting an article like this. And I see that she has made that change. So that is where my story comes from. Again, as I said, this comes from a space of having a lot of privilege at home and having parents who have been very accepting of me all through my life. So they are also very much in that collaboration aspect in the house, where they think that my opinions make a lot more sense to them. So hence, just putting a point forward that I had to change a lot to bring that aspect back home as well, where I had to understand that there is a lot of sympathy I have to provide to their learnings and experiences of years of being where they are right now.
Yeah. Also, their belief system has been built up with a lot more hard work. We can simply look up things. You know, anything that we want to educate ourselves on, we can simply look up things and, you know, try to improve. But as you said, Eklavya, their belief system was like what they were hearing around them. And it was not, there was no luxury of time to maybe solidify those belief systems. So yeah, agree with that. But I kind of keep reminding me and the political things and, you know, all that. Oh yeah, घर पे भी है. मतलब me and my dad have stopped talking politics now. So yeah, but वो थोड़ा खुद को tone down करो तो वहां से भी response आता है, because yeah, I agree on that. So Anshuman, Deval, and Nayan and Ayushi have not spoken at all so far. So Anshuman, do you want to go next?
I actually came for the after party, but stayed for the discussion.
Same.
But मतलब मैंने I've not read the book. इसलिए if someone who has read the book want to go before me, I would rather have that.
But in general, the discussion, you heard any comments or anything? Or
I think I have nothing to add for the book, मतलब about the book obviously. लेकिन मतलब जब when Diljit asked that question, right, कि what if this happens around you, with you, or with someone, like, so I think I was thinking myself कि how would I react, and I think वही हुआ जो basically like I realized how I deal with things. I mean, how I would deal with these things is like, मुझे लगता है कि हमारा एटीट्यूड आजकल वैसा है, लाइक यू आर लेजी लिबरल्स. इट्स लाइक मैं ऐसे हूँ कि लाइक लेट्स से if my kid says कि ठीक है आई एम गे एंड ऑल दैट, मेरा ये होगा, ठीक है, I wouldn't say कि अब like we are इतना mature तो हो गए हैं और इतने open है कि मैं ये नहीं कहूँगा नहीं गलत है, but मैं बस like someone rightly said that I would want to protect, because I know India is not अभी तक वहाँ नहीं पहुँचा है. तो I think मैं सीधा solution की side जाऊँगा, and I would rather convince him or her कि I think I support, लेकिन why not move to a country where it is more accepting, because मैं मतलब आई एम नॉट इन दैट स्पेस कि मैं ठीक कोई नहीं, तू जो बनना है वो मैं दुनिया के सामने लड़ूंगा. आई डोंट थिंक आई एम दैट वे. मुझे नहीं लड़ना है, मतलब लाइफ इज टू शॉर्ट टू मतलब वो है. तो दैट्स व्हाट आई थिंक, दैट्स हाउ आई वुड डील, कि आई वुड वांट टू some might say that running away from the problem, but I would rather say that I would put comfort, his comfort, her comfort, and my comfort over trying to कि नहीं तू कर जो करना है, मैं लड़ूंगा दुनिया से. मतलब I don't think I would want to do that. I would want कि easiest तरीका would be, and it is coming out of privilege, कि I would rather want him or her and us to move to a different
या
country.
मूविंग आउट ऑफ
Something like that.
कंट्री उतना भी इनएक्सेसिबल नहीं रह गया ना, तो व्हाई नॉट.
Exactly.
या पॉइंट टेकन. नेक्स्ट अप देवल और नयन, डू यू वांट टू गो नेक्स्ट? आई सी यू वांट.
ठीक है. मतलब I have had talks with my parents regarding this topic. Sometimes they say कि मतलब जिसको जो करना है वो करे, लेकिन ये मतलब ऐसे बाहर एकदम आउट ओपन में, मतलब वो जो पीडीए रहता है, दे डोंट अप्रूव दैट. तो उसके ऊपर चीजें के ऊपर बहुत डिस्कशन हुआ है. एंड समटाइम्स जैसे जो चीज अगेंस्ट द नेचर है या फिर वो गलत है, बट आई डोंट अग्री विद दैट काइंड ऑफ थॉट ऑफ देम. मैं कहता हूँ कि अब 50-55 साल हो गए हैं, अब मैं तो कुछ थोपने नहीं वाला, क्योंकि उनका जो ये माइंडसेट रहा है, आई एम लाइक ठीक है, आपने जैसे सोचा वैसा ठीक है, और जो मेरी थिंकिंग है वो अलग है. क्योंकि अब मैं इसको अगर एक सपोजिंगली एक रिलीजियस एंगल दूं, not going into that religious wala side, but another my personal experience कि जैसे what I have faced, like what my parents faced when they migrated from Kashmir to Jammu after leaving their ancestral homes and all. So उनके दिमाग में पहले जो उनके जो दोस्त वगैरह थे, एकदम से वो ब्लैक स्वान इंसिडेंट हुआ कि उन्हीं की कम्युनिटी को मार दिया, उन्हीं को वहां से भगा दिया. So then they are like कि मतलब they have extreme hatred for them. So I have lived those those experience through their stories, through their tears. So I have seen the मतलब थोड़ा सा दोगलापन भी है, क्योंकि हमारी जो जमीन है वो वहां के जो कश्मीरी मुस्लिम्स है वही संभालते हैं. तो उनके साथ एक है कि मतलब एक हिपोक्रेसी है कि मतलब उनके साथ बना के भी रखनी है, उनको पीठ पीछे गाली भी देनी है. तो ऐसा है कि वो अपने स्टेटमेंट को ऐसे जस्टिफाई करते हैं, वो इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे बहुत अच्छे हैं, जब आप उनसे हेल्प करते हैं या फिर आप उनकी हेल्प करते हैं, वो आपकी हेल्प करते हैं, लेकिन जब कम्युनिटी लेवल पे आ जाते हैं, so then it turns into a communal thing, which led to this kind of problem. So this hit, and I have even asked कि मतलब have you ever tried to move on from this? वो कहता है ये एक ऐसी चीज है जिससे कोई मूव ऑन कर ही नहीं सकता. वो जो वो दिल में मतलब एक जो गुस्सा है वो कभी बुझेगा नहीं, even till death. And that is something which I also have. मैं उस साइड जाना नहीं चाहता. मैं बस इस पे पॉइंट आके खत्म कर दूंगा कि मतलब बात यही आती है कि मतलब वी आर एट दिस, हमको अब इस प्रिविलेज पॉइंट पे हैं कि मतलब जैसे अंशुमन ने कहा कि वी आर काइंड ऑफ लेजी लिबरल्स. मैं इसको ऐसे फ्रेम करूंगा, जब तक हम पे बात नहीं आती हम इसके बारे में सोचते ही नहीं है. हम कहते हैं दूसरे के साथ हो रहा है ठीक है, हम उनके लिए पिटी करते हैं एंड ऑल दैट, मैं समझ में आता है. लेकिन जब अपने ऊपर बात आती है तब का क्या है, तब किसी ने सोचा नहीं. और मैं चाहता हूं मैं ना ही उसके बारे में सोचूं। जो लाइफ चल रही है भले ही बोरिंग लाइफ है, वो बोरिंग लाइफ ही मेरे लिए ठीक है। अगर ऐसी कोई वेस्टर्न मीडिया में अभी तक जितना भी जो इन्फ्लुएंस आ रहा है, जो वेस्टर्नाइजेशन हो रहा है, जो थॉट्स आ रहे हैं, जहां से ये यूएस में जो जो प्रॉब्लम्स क्रिएट हो रही है उसके थ्रू, वो मैं देख रहा हूँ इंडिया में भी अब कुछ हद तक धीरे धीरे आ रही है। वो मैं उनको प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं कहूंगा, मैं कहूंगा देयर आर सम न्यू टाइप्स ऑफ चैलेंजेस। तो उन चैलेंजेस को अब वही है कि मतलब अभी तक तो कभी एक्सपीरियंस किया नहीं है, तो मैं कुछ कह नहीं सकता, और मैं उतने तक ही सीमित रहना चाहता हूँ, उससे आगे बढ़ना नहीं चाहता हूँ। बस दैट वुड बी माय पॉइंट।
Yes. Fair enough, Dai. I think
Absolutely.
somebody wanted to say something. Otherwise, I still haven't heard from Deval and Ayushi. Deval, you want to go next?
My voice is not working, so I won't.
Oh,
हाँ,
okay.
मत बोल दो.
It's nice listening to everybody.
Got it. Perfect. आप कमेंट्स में कुछ लिख दो थोड़ा सा, अगर हो पाए तो बढ़िया. आयुषी?
Am I audible?
Yep.
Yes.
Go for it.
I've not read the book, but
Yeah, that's fine. Now this has become a larger discussion about the queer community and how generally we react to it. So your thoughts on that?
So, talking about queer people, like I have a childhood friend who just informed me that she's bisexual, and not the problem. Like I'm happy that she can now be comfortable by what she is in the society and everything, and I was happy. She'll not feel stuffy anymore. But the point is again कि उसको लोग अब किस नजरिए से देखेंगे, and then how on a Monday morning what people were treating her, and it will be different on a Tuesday morning now. Like क्या होगा अभी ऐसे?
Yeah.
So it is a little difficult, but I'm happy that she's not feeling stuffy anymore and all of that. So again, like there was a discussion कि हमारे घर में ऐसा होगा तो क्या होगा, and I'm like I'm totally okay with people coming out to me, my family also stating कि ऐसा कुछ है, because I'm happy like they trust me enough to tell me this. They will be there, like they'll be in their true form now, like they'll be happy again, not feeling stuffy or anything, and at least some part of their life would be easier now. Like अब उनको कुछ battle घर पे fight नहीं करने पड़ेंगे. सोसाइटी का तो कुछ कर नहीं सकते हम, बट अगर घर पे हो they feel safe, they feel comfortable with their identity, so that's a good thing. Talking about parents again, my parents are opening up to an idea of these things, but again I can't change it. I think Manu was talking that हमने steps लेने चाहिए. So I do that quite a lot, like quite a lot of time with my mother, and I see her reaction to these things. Like she's shocked, she's surprised. ये क्या है? Why are people like this? And what is happening that she's not understanding? And ये क्या नई चीजें होते जा रही हैं? So I like to understand her point of view, and then maybe change it to what is more acceptable, what is more like how it can improve, and how can she make a better impact in the life of these people. Like ठीक है, मतलब आप थोड़ा कम जजमेंटल हो, अब दुनिया क्या कर रही है हम उसका तो कुछ सोच नहीं सकते, बट अगर आप उनको कुछ कंफर्ट दिला सकते हो, it's a good thing ना on your part that someone is happy because you're not judging them. And I try to do that little, but हाँ उसकी भी एक वो threshold होता है कि अब ज्यादा हो गया, अब इनके दिमाग में कुछ जा नहीं रहा है, तो just let it be one step at a time. तो yeah, it's like that. And but great discussion, like मेरे को काफी सारे अच्छे points सुनने मिले. I was You all were my walking buddy. मैं like 1.5 hours से almost was listening to. मस्त था. It was good stuff.
Yeah, मैं तो सबको सुन रहा हूँ और सबसे कन्विंस हो जा रहा हूँ. मतलब
हाँ, actually, मैंने हाँ ये भी सही है, ये भी बराबर ही है, ये भी अच्छा
ये
है.
एंगल तो मैंने सोचा ही नहीं था.
हाँ, मतलब ये बहुत अच्छा है.
सही है. और फिर कोई बंदा एक ऑलरेडी नुआंस्ड में आके और एक नुआंस जोड़ देता है कि नहीं ये, तो फिर वो भी सही लगता है. बट या आई थिंक Ash wants to say something.
हाँ, मतलब मैं बस ये बोल रही थी
comparing कि मतलब where are my shortcomings, like अरे मैंने ये भी बोलना चाहिए था, मैंने ये भी ऐसे करना चाहिए, ऐसे सब. Sorry, continue.
कोई नहीं मैं आयुषी मैं to your point I was just adding to your point that it's going to be so fascinating, भगवान करे मतलब 30 years down the line when the kids, aaj generation, the kids that are getting born now, and when like they are about to get married, who knows what the thing is then and how we react to it. Because we
Exactly,
are going
मैं
to be,
कभी-कभी
matlab, mama,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are
we'll be
going to be
boomers
in this
then.
place,
हाँ
right?
So
हाँ, तो
And
मैं
things
वही
are going to
सोचती हूँ कभी
be
कभी कि मेरे सामने ऐसी कौन सी चीज आएगी जिसको मैं सुन के शॉक हो जाऊंगी कि मतलब
right. And I
इसको
will
मैं
be like,
ऐसा एडवर्स रिएक्शन दूंगी.
Yes.
because there is going to come that time,
हाँ
not today, 30 years when we are now very set कि भाई बस अब हो गया.
एंड्रू
Also,
ह्यूमनॉइड रोबोट्स के साथ शादी करेंगे बच्चे एंड
हाँ हाँ
विल बी अ कन्वर्सेशन की रोबोट्स के साथ शादी करनी चाहिए या नहीं करनी चाहिए.
absolutely. Yeah. मुझे लगता है कि ऐसे ही एक जूम कॉल तो नहीं होगा. So I think I don't know कितनी टेक्नोलॉजी हो जाएगी.
बेटा
हाँ
वर्स में
हाँ, पता नहीं. I don't know. सारे मिलके
हॉल
हमारे बारे में
holograms.
तो बात कर रहे होंगे जो हम लोग को नहीं समझ में आता है for sure.
हाँ
So yeah, I mean, I think it's
and very nice. I've got a example. My dadi, right now she is 86 years old. ठीक है? Like person was born in just pre-independent India. She she is from ki she's lived through a time where गांव में शादी होती थी. गांव के बाहर कोई शादी was not even a thought. ठीक है? Then she saw her kid getting married outside the caste, which was a big deal. To her, if you have these conversations over and over again, how it is like, पहला conversation होता है कि this thing, right? Now it comes to a point when if you're marrying a non-Indian, she is now kind of getting normalized to that as well. मतलब पहले शादी उसने बाहर पहले मतलब it is a cycle and it is very funny if you observe it. पहले होता है अरे यार अच्छी शादी कर ली छी शादी कर ली बाहर करी ओ नो फिर 10 दिन बाद अच्छा चलो शादी कर तो ली चलो खुश तो है बच्चे चलो कोई नहीं छोड़ो बच्चे खुशी है वो एक पूरी साइकिल होती है वेयर द फर्स्ट थिंग एंड देन धीरे धीरे इट्स लाइक हाँ चलो ठीक है बच्चे हैं खुश है अपनी जिंदगी जिए दैट
वो एक एक्सेप्टेंस तो लास्ट में आ ही जाती है क्योंकि एट द एंड ऑफ द डे किसी भी माँ बाप को अपने बच्चे की खुशी पैरामाउंट होती है.
And they can see it. If they can see true happiness ना तो then they don't mess around. तो उनको समझ में आ जाता है कि यार जो भी है तो खुशी लग रहा है ठीक है अब छोड़ देता है मतलब and it मतलब it happens. So in my case also intercaste marriage, right? तो शुरुआत में it was like वो सब था but now when they see that everything has settled down, everything has gone to normal. तो वो होता ही है. उनके लिए तो इंटरकास्ट भी बहुत बड़ी बात थी मतलब एटलीस्ट फॉर माय इन-लॉज. सो या आई गेस 2 क्वेश्चंस. आई थिंक दिलजीत ने पूछा था, अनमोल ने पूछा था. वो पैनल ने अभी तक किया क्या मतलब अदरवाइज आई गेस वी आर गुड टू रैप और वी कैन कीप टॉकिंग. बताओ व्हाट डज द पैनल थिंक. आफ्टर पार्टी हाँ अब थोड़ा सा ड्रेस डाउन करते हैं थोड़ा लेट आवर हेयर डाउन. ब्लैक चपाती भैया थोड़ा रिकॉर्डिंग बंद करेंगे क्या.
Lovely
You are
conversation.
the best. We are saying because recording
बुक से ज्यादा नुआंस कॉन्वर्सेशन तो मैंने पिछले 1.5 घंटे में की 2.5 घंटे से.
exactly.
3
मस्त
नहीं
है
एग्जैक्टली.
सब
सो
लोग एक बार
जैसे
वीडियो ऑन
अनमोल भाई ने
करके
बोला ना
थैंक
कि
यू बोलो.
हेल्प्ड इन रिफ्लेक्शन क्योंकि बुक में बी एन एवरेज बुक टू रीड लेकिन बिकॉज ऑफ द टॉपिक दैट इट इज ब्रोचिंग दैट्स व्हाई इट वाज अ ब्रेव चॉइस. सो या
And also a lot of thanks to people who are there in the panel to have driven this conversation to the spaces that it has. I think that was also a good instance.
So thank you.
Like just for this conversation, I'm very glad I read. I'm personally very glad I read the book because this was the first queer book I read ever.
Correct.
But yeah, I'm very glad this happened. This conversation.
डिप्रेसिंग और ऑसम राइटिंग और डिप्रेसिंग. मैं म्यूट पे हूँ क्या. नहीं ओके मैं बोल रही थी कि अगर तुम्हें एक बुक पढ़नी है बुक आई रियली लाइक इज शगी बेन. बहुत इट इज आई थिंक बुकर प्राइज विनिंग बुक है वो बट इट इज शगी बेन.
Shaggy Bin. Yeah, I haven't read it.
I read it 2 years ago.
It's very highly comes highly recommended from my friends. Cobalt Blue. set in Pune. मराठी में पहला लिखा था but set in Pune. He also directed the movie.
हार्टस्टॉपर बोला उसका भी बहुत अच्छा सुना है मैंने. हार्टस्टॉपर
Heartstopper is fantastic.
Cobalt Blue.
अरे मराठी है,
Cobalt.
सचिन कुंडलकर.
अच्छा.
It's about this one guy who comes to live with this family, and the brother and sister both fall in love with this guy. तो and it बहुत ही nuanced है. मैं जितने भी I still have to read it or watch the movie. Netflix पे movie भी है उसका. तो
प्रतीक बब्बर.
Yeah,
Yes.
Cobalt Blue, yeah.
मस्त, good, well done.
Heartstopper
मुझे ये
is a
बुक बहुत
very
अच्छी लगी थी.
positive take on LGBTQ.
दिख रही है
तो
बुक?
हाँ, ये भी है.
ओ, ये भी
ये बुक
सीरीज है.
मुझे बहुत अच्छी लगी थी. It's
Heartstopper भी
also
सीरीज.
around
Sorry.
acceptance.
हाँ.
House on the Cerulean Sea.
Yeah.
इसका
Oh
भी
yeah,
काफी
that's
अच्छा
true.
सुना.
ये क्रॉसवर्ड शेल्फ वाली बुक है.
रिकॉर्डिंग अभी
Recording चालू है.
आप भी चालू है. मैं वापस चालू किया just so everyone can say thanks to Nikhil
Yeah,
bhai.
yeah. I'll go next. कि
Yeah.
निखिल भाई मतलब
बुक
everyone.
क्लोज करने के बाद थोड़ा थैंक यू भी बोल दो ऐसे.
Thank you.
नहीं, but on a serious note कि every time we think कि we will pick something out of the box, yeah, we will challenge our thoughts and choose big books that challenge our thoughts. But it's a very easy thing to say, but we don't actually go ahead and do it. But thanks to you that we have gotten this opportunity and ये discussion हुआ. So yeah, well done.
I'm liking choices. मेरा भी choice पकड़ रहा हूँ उसमें. जो 5 books अब तक select किए हैं अपन ने, क्या ही variety है भाई. मस्त.
100%.
मतलब
Very varied.
जो
Yeah.
I think somebody people who have maybe joined these calls for the first time, so whenever your turn comes, please feel free to just bore us with your genre. मतलब please don't pick comfortably for us. Push us to read whatever you want to read. It's fine. अपने comfort reads तो
Whatever you want to read. हाँ वैसा like.
Correct.
मतलब you are also going into it a bit blind, but you
Correct.
know थोड़ा ऊपर से कि
हाँ.
क्या.
करेक्ट. सो मतलब अपने खुद के कंफर्ट जॉनर ही रहे हैं, उसके लिए दूसरों के रिकमेंडेशन की क्या जरूरत है. बट जस्ट गो ब्रेव, जस्ट विदाउट थिंकिंग कि मतलब लोग ट्रैश करेंगे. इट्स फाइन. तो या बढ़िया. थैंक यू एवरीवन यार, मजा आ गया डिस्कशन में. तो
And before the
Thank
recording
you,
ends,
Nikhil.
can we have it on record कि अगली बार जिसका भी बुक होगा, the person has to wear a shirt matching the cover.
विश्वेश भाई,
विश्वेश
pressure हो
भाई.
जाएगा.
I think but
हम लोग मांगा
विश्वेश
खत्म
भाई
कर रहे.
has
विश्वेश भाई
आप पैनक्रियाज पहन के आना.
मांगा का है उनके पास. टी-शर्ट्स तो है उनके पास
उनके पास तो
मांगा के.
shirts है.
मांगा के
Yeah,
है
yeah.
टी-शर्ट्स,
No,
बट वो
बिल्कुल. Yeah.
एनिमे के है, वो काफी अलग है. बट दैट्स ओके.
अब वो लड़की
वो
प्रोटैगनिस्ट
वो आएगा वाले तो नहीं है आपके पास जिसमें वो छोड़ो
नहीं,
मैं
नहीं.
ऐसा
I
रुको
have
मैं पॉज ये बंद
एक
भाई
बार
करो.
बंद कर, रिकॉर्डिंग बंद कर.
एक बार
रिकॉर्डिंग बंद करो. चलो
रिकॉर्डिंग बंद करो.